Hey everybody, welcome back to Everyone Games. Sorry for the slight technical hiccup there, but we're back and better than ever and ready to go. Great panel from just a minute ago. My name's Ben, BM the DM. Got a wonderful crew with me here. Part of Everyone Games event, just Knights the Braille been working with me for a little bit now. Very excited to help with some of this team of partially sighted and blind players, help bring accessibility in gaming to everybody with video gaming, tabletop role-playing games. And make sure, check out that donation link that's been going through chat all day. This event is raising funds for able gamers and special effects. And you can visit everyonegames.com for more information. We are the last game of the day, but certainly, saving the best for last, I think, right, folks?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
I have a great crew with me. I want to just run down my list and let everybody introduce themselves and plug where you can find them on social media. And I am running straight down the list on Discord. So we're going to start with Danny at the top.
All right. I'm Danny Marie AUC, and you guys can find me under that name just about everywhere: Twitch, Discord. I have a YouTube channel. I also run a website called Albinism Up Close. So if you can't remember my name, you can remember that and just go albinismupclose.com, and all my socials are there. But this is my first time playing D&D, really second time. So, just so you know.
We are incredibly excited and very happy to have you with us.
I'm
Next
excited.
on my list is Not a Dr. Quinn.
Yes. So, hi, I'm Quinn, she, her. You can find me on social pretty much everywhere at Not a Dr. Quinn. And yes, that is a reference to the old TV show. I'm the co-host, producer, and editor of the A Couple of Characters podcast, which I make with my husband, Alex. And I'm really excited to be participating in this because my husband is visually impaired, so it's a near and dear cause to my heart. And you can find information about my podcast at ACOC Podcast on social media and a couple of characters podcast.com.
Thanks. And please go check it out too after the game, because you can listen to the episode where Quinn created the character that she's playing today in this game. So it was
Yes.
a wonderful podcast. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Next on our list is Rodney.
I am an IT expert and blogger specializing in Jira and Atlassian software. My connection here is I actually do have cerebral palsy, so this is also a cause very near and dear to my heart. And I'm really happy to be here, excited to get started.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rodney. Also a player in my live game, so he gets some extra insight to our world here, and very excited to have him along. Next is Tarren.
Okay, I am back. Sorry, guys.
No problem. Tarren, you are up for introductions.
All right. Well, I'm Tarren. I am kind of just getting into the streaming D&D thing. And just kind of have always wanted to do some, online streaming and online podcasting was my original thought, but okay. Loving doing this as well.
Awesome. We're very happy to have you here. And last but certainly not least is our friend Josh.
I'm Josh Straub. I'm the editor-in-chief of DAGERSystem. We're a website that reviews games for physical accessibility for the disabled. And we also launched our Accessible Games database. You can find that at accessiblegamesdatabase.com, or you can follow the organization on Twitter at DAGERSystem. That's Dagger with 1G, System, SYTEM. Super excited to be here.
Thanks, Josh. And again, I'm Ben. You can find me online on Twitter at BMTheDM, and you can also find links to the homebrew world where we're playing in today. This is the world of Cyorion, a homebrew that I've been working on for quite some time now. And if you ever want to catch me DMing and playing, you can go to spellcastadventures.com for information on our show where we play Monday nights in Cyorion. And with that, we want to dive right in. I know everybody's super excited. So, sitting back at the distance from Cyorion, looking at it from a blaze away, it is a unique and interesting place. A large spot in the universe, encased in a shell of atmosphere that appears to have shattered strands running through like broken glass. Coming down to the surface of the planet, one of the largest things that you'll see first is a 3,900 mile wide desert known as the Ethereal Desert. And within that, a few interesting people make their home. The Kingdom of Ashihoya, a loose trade democracy of trade princes and princesses, own and operate walking cities that stand some 300 to 400 feet above the ground, carrying and ferrying thousands of citizens around the desert to the watering holes, to the different places of trade and commerce as they try to survive in that harsh environment. We start tonight inside of one of our cities, the very beautiful Leventos, inside of an underground tavern. An interesting place that you might find some seedy adventurers, but tonight there's a cause for celebration, as very recently the city put out a call for adventurers to assist with a potential uprising of lizard folk on the eastern border of the land that were expected to be attacking Leventos as they came by for water. However, the celebration tonight is that lizard folk, goblins, and kobold, no inherently evil races in Cyorion. They are looked down upon slightly, but generally accepted by the populace. And tonight in this tavern, our intrepid adventurers are celebrating not shedding blood, but stopping the bloodshed and welcoming an envoy of lizard folk. And I would like Danny, as someone hands you a drink, asking again, how was it that you helped stop this envoy, this battle group of lizard folk from attacking the city? And if you could describe your character, please.
Yes, my character is Drayden Frostfane, a Mark of Warding dwarf paladin who is, let me find it, who has taken the oath of conquest. Drayden is an ex-mercenary who has been on a journey to find new companions, to find honor, and to find work. So she heard about this call for heroes, this call for protectors, and of course, she came. So here we are. Of course, as an ex-mercenary, I know quite a lot about strategy. So I talked to the lizard folk and those in the city sensibly. We talked about how, were the attack to continue, neither side would win. So, single-handedly. No, not really. But we just talked reasonably. We really did. And as we hashed things out, we knew that if these two sides kept warring, no one really would win. They wouldn't get the water they needed. The cities would just constantly be attacking lizard folk and lizard folk the cities, and it would just be a cycle. And there's no point.
The lizard folk are all sitting around watching as you see inside of this tavern, groups chattering and listening, but most of the focus is over toward Drayden as she speaks up and talks about stopping the fight. And one of the lizard folk looks up and goes, "Yeah, it would have been a rough fight, but I could have taken you," and laughs around as drinks are brought one before Drayden. And one is handed off to a strange looking creature sitting next to her that waves it off. And Rodney, could you please introduce your character to us? And what did you do to help stop the lizard folk from attacking? Rodney, are you there?
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Rodney.
Oh,
check your mic,
there.
please. There we go.
Got it. Anyways, so as the drink is handed to Zero, this very strange looking mechanical man, he kind of passes along and doesn't even really pay attention or try to even drink from it. If you see him, he's kind of got this oiled bronze skin on him. It's very metallic looking. His joints look very steampunk. And he's dressed in monk scarves, but it's not like he's wearing it. It's more like someone draped it over a doll. So he is a Wave the Mercy monk, and as he passes his drink along, he goes in. Well, this unit was actually commissioned to help keep the peace between the merchants and some of the lizard folk. Zero observed that the tensions were increasing, first with some words, and then some of the lizard folk youngling throwing rocks. It was at that time this unit observed a rock hitting one of the merchants, and the merchant in turn being injured, drawing his sword to attack back. Zero calculated that if the attack had gone through, it would have escalated tensions to the point where things would have lost control and there would have been massive bloodshed. So taking action, this unit threw his net, captured the merchant, and managed to take him off somewhere to cool off to prevent more bloodshed.
At that moment, one of the younger goblins in the group kind of is climbing on the table behind Zero, poking at the stick, this large staff on the monk's back, and the huge bulb at the top, and looks and goes, "Oh, the net comes from here, yes?"
Indeed, youngling.
What did you do, friend? As a drink is brought over and set in front of Aaron, could you introduce your character for us, please?
Of which one?
Taryn, if you could introduce your character for us, please.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was Taryn or Aaron, so.
Nope, not a problem.
So yeah, this would be Morwen, halfling College of Lore bard, even on the short side of halfling stature. Kind of dresses in like fairly functional, colorful but practical attire. And I'm like, one of the things that was important was to look at what the needs of both sides were, and then to kind of find out what could be done to meet them. How, knowing how could we best make sure that the needs of the cities and the lizard folk and the planet as a whole, which I saw as a very important part of what the lizard folk had to say, how could practices be implemented jointly by both groups to kind of help maintain that balance.
Balance was maintained. The elder of the lizard folk envoy speaks up and rises back from the back of the group, steps forward and looks over to Quinn's character and comes and pours another drink. Says, "You all truly did us a great service. Many lives were saved." And Quinn, could you please introduce your character for us?
Yes, so I will be playing Anne Sandwalker Ekins today, a lizard folk bard. He looks like a Gila monster, so he has black and orange stripes, and he's a bit short and stocky for a lizard folk, a little under 6 feet tall, and he has black eyes, and he doesn't have any frills or head fins or anything like that. And he starts to speak, and he says, "Well, a while back, I received a terrifying vision of impending doom and mass destruction. I saw thousands upon thousands dying in a bloody war between my clan and the Ashahoyan kingdom in the desert, as well as the utter decimation of the lush jungle I call home. When I saw this group of lizard folk approaching the city, I cast sending to Rathos, the minor deity who'd given me this vision. I called on them to share it and show the price of war to the lizard folk. And then I was able to persuade my party and the Ashahoyans not to attack."
Rathos has done well by us. And cheers erupt from the tavern as everybody seems to be enjoying their revelry and drinks. And a few people look back to the corner of the room, sitting near the shadows, and somebody else plucking away lazily at an instrument. And Josh, could you please introduce your character to us?
Zeke stands at about 2.5 feet tall. He's a cobalt blue kobold, and he wears armor that almost looks like it was made out of his own cast-off scales. and then on the seat next to him is a small black and white Oriental dragon. And I guess what I did, when I heard this shindig was going down, was I made sure that nobody got a hand. I find that a quick crossbow and a ornery drake kind of calm people down and keep them away from their weapons. So I just sort of stood there and made sure nothing got out of hand.
Slowly, during all this conversation and people enjoying drinks, it appears that a couple of the city guard had made their way into the establishment. You can see them easily identified by a maroon and bright blue sash that crosses their body from the right shoulder down to the left hip. And they gain the respect of everyone as they kind of walk into the room. People aren't necessarily afraid of them. The guards in the city do work well with the citizens, but folks kind of get pressed to the side a little bit as a very large and burly half-orc steps through the door and surveys the room and looks to the group of you. You're the ones, right? You brought us this envoy to the city of Levento. Something that was not expected, frankly, but one that we could appreciate. This is a gift. And reaches into a backpack and pulls out a large bottle of something. Not quite sure what, but the top pops off of it, and this light blue liquor is poured out in a group of glasses and handed out to the group of you, directly from Princess Pasira. All of you do recognize the name Pasira as the princess who runs this entire city.
Okay.
If you're proficient in history, feel free to make a history check as a glass is raised and the creature introduces themselves. I am Uskoth, and this is to the health of Leventos. Cheers. And takes this long pole. Is anybody else proficient in history?
Only half.
All right, go ahead with half. That's fine.
Okay.
We will allow it. And while they're rolling, for those of you that are on the stream, any donations that come in during today's game, for every $10 donated, we are adding re-rolls to a pool for our players to pull from. So if there's a $10 or more donation for every $10 donated, we will add one re-roll to the pool that any player can pull from.
There we go.
All right, so with a 15-0,
very bad.
it was okay. With a 6 for Ann Ekins and a 15 for 0-0. With the 15, you recognize this liquor. This is rumored to exist in small quantities around the world. For the uninitiated, the elves of Gwayr, the capital city, what used to be the heart of civilization in Cyorion, was attacked in a devastating magical attack some 140 years ago. The entire city was leveled and destroyed, and the Elven Empire all but wiped out. And this is a elven fine wine with magical properties that used to be crafted by the elves of Gwayr, but has long since been lost, and few bottles are rumored to remain.
This cause
quite
for
the treat.
celebration.
Zero looks at it, kind of swirls it around in his glass, says, Princess does indeed honor us, and shares the history with the rest of the party.
The princess would be honored at your presence in the morning. If you would please enjoy the rest of this gift, your revelries for the evening, and Basira would request your presence at her villa tomorrow morning.
By all means.
Okay, sounds good.
Cannot reject the honor of meeting with a leader.
Very good. I'll leave you to it, gentlemen. He waves out to the guards, and the kobolds and the lizard folk in the room had been standing near the edges, very nervous. Not afraid, but uneasy. Not this many guards had ever walked into this room before. But they take a quick look around, shrug, everything's back to normal. And the band starts to pick back up, and we dig into our cups for the evening. Does anyone have any questions or conversation they'd like to have before we move on to the next day?
How about a cheers? A toast of sorts. Brayden raises her glass and says, here's to not fighting for once in my life. And takes a sip.
Here's to an easy paycheck is more like it.
And
Can't
Anna will
argue.
raise his glass and he'll say, I'll drink to that. The first
I'll
thing,
drink to the
second
balance raised. The balance
all-
regained.
To another day.
You all enjoy a nice evening of drinks. Probably some of the most expensive alcohol any of you have ever taken. Enjoying a sweet treat of victory. And rooms had been arranged for you at another tavern in the city. However, you found comfort with the lizard folk envoy and the peoples underneath the surface level of the city. You know from looking outside of these cities that they are massively deep with inner workings beyond your imagining. However, on this first and second sub-level exists a group of people outside of the eye of the sun beating down on them in the desert. And deep here underneath the city, you find some solace and rest in a tavern and head off to sleep to enjoy your balance raised, your free paychecks, and some very easy coin and drink with new friends. In Cyorion, day does not break like in most places. The sun does not rise in the east or set in the west. This is a tidally locked planet, as you all know, but some of our viewers may not. And in the morning, the veil lifts as the object that blocks out the sun high in the sky every 12 hours moves aside, and day begins to break. You see it coming in through the cracks in the ceiling. There's a bit of glass, thick glass, I should say, on some of the streets above to allow some sunlight to make it to the subsurface levels, as well as the fact that the easiest way to get sand out of things sometimes in a desert is to just let there be gaps in the wood. So filtering down through the wood, some of you might awake with a grain or two dripping onto your forehead of sand as you smell the dry wood rotting from the sun that's often in need of replacement, but the moisture content doesn't allow it to rot as well. You just smell the very, very dryness in the air as bits of sand kind of dribble through the cracks and awake you in the morning. And breakfast is available at the tavern for you, however. But the invite did say first thing in the morning. What would you all like to do?
Can we grab
I
some
would say
food to go?
let's follow that.
Let's head over. No need to keep royalty waiting.
Nope.
Brayden
wanna
grabs a
grab
handful of
something.
food.
Yeah, so does Anne. You never know when you're gonna need some food. You never know what you'll encounter.
Yes, Drayden fills her pockets.
Bits
You're
of
always ready when the
hardtack
rest of the group
biscuits.
is.
Okay. Bits of hardtack and biscuits. Some fresh citrus juice is available as well, and protein of the desert. Generally, bits of lizard meat or cattle that are found out in the wilderness. Not of lizard folk, but most lizard folk are aware of the circle of life and understand that there are lesser races that are edible. But whatever is available for you, be vegetarian or a meat eater, there's something available on the breakfast table in the morning, and it's at the courtesy of the tavern. No coin is expected of you. But you
Grab
come
some
out-
meat.
Some meat. You come out through one of the stairwells out to the surface city, and being this far above the desert, you get to enjoy a cool, sweet breeze coming from the bit of jungle that you can almost see out the eastern side of the city. And particularly, you're able to almost spot treetops that you think might have been home, some far off place to the east. However, the city has begun to turn to the northwest, and head back into the heart of the desert. You are close enough to the ocean, though, that you do get that slight salty sweetness in the morning air as the breeze comes over the top of Leventos, this rather large walking city. And you can hear in the distance as the wood and ropes creak and all the magic that is used underneath the belly of this great city to lift and maneuver these massive legs as they walk through the desert. But it's not hard to find the palace. Looking in towards the center of the city, most of these cities are about 100, or about 25 to 50 square miles. They're rather large and move quite slow, but they are built around a central domed structure. Each of the cities nearly identical, with different colorations being the only thing that tells them apart. And you can see the maroon and blue banners in the distance of Leventos and Princess Pycia. And you can easily move towards the center of city and find yourself face to face with some guards out at the gates of the central villa, who, seeing your group come up, wave for a moment and ask you to please stop. There are tieflings and shifters, various races guarding the outsides of this great city, or sorry, this great villa. And a runner heads in quickly, and a few moments later you see Uskoth come back out to escort you in. I see you're all nice and prompt this morning. I appreciate that. Princess Pycia is very busy and appreciates it as well.
Can you spell the princess's name?
Yes, that's Pycia is, I did mispronounce it just a second ago, but it is Pescyra. And Uskoth has the gate open for you. If you'll follow me right this way, we'll give you the slight tour on our way into the meeting room.
All right.
You're taken in past massive gardens, hanging vines and great trees planted up on the top of the city, allowing for some semblance of almost an oasis as you make your way towards the central dome structure through great yellowed stone archways that have bits of marbled sheen, almost a lacquer still on the outside of them, but sand has eaten away at it to where it seems like it's a work that has to be reapplied every few years to keep them shiny and clean. But they start to peel away in little places, and you can feel the roughness of the stone as your hand moves over that. But you come in through the first major archway to a cacophony of birds and monkeys and different animals inside of a great menagerie just inside of the front entryway. And you can smell the fresh fruit that they've been fed in the morning and hear them all fighting and screeching as they move through the different areas trying to fight over those last bits of fruit that are still available. And you can hear the calls of birds from up inside these massive iron arched and viewing ports of this menagerie. And Uskoth,
the music of life.
if you would
Screening.
prefer,
Anne
Pycia
is.
always offers.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead, Anne.
Oh, I think that Anne is a little wary of someone who would cage wild beasts.
Pycia always offers her guests to feed the animals if you like. They're well cared for, and she enjoys her menagerie daily if you would like. And there's a small bucket of fresh fruits and bits that you can hand things off to if you would like to feed any of the animals.
Raiden grabs a piece of fruit and says, this isn't quite what I expected, but lets a bird come down and eat the fruit out of her hand.
Roll an animal handling check for me, please. And you can roll
Okay.
that with advantage because you have food.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. And were you using the in-game roller or the...
Yes. That's what I was trying to do. 19 plus 1 for
Perfect.
the first roll.
Okay. With advantage, that's going to be really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if we can improve any more.
No, 14 plus 1.
So-
So,
A dirty 20. You actually get a few collars to this piece of fruit as you hand it through. you spot a very colorful toucan high up in one of the branches that you try to coax down, and it comes and lands on your arm and begins to like bite at this large piece of fruit that you're holding, almost akin to a mango, about the size of your palm, as it starts to bite it in half, and you're gingerly keeping your fingers away. But very quickly, Usgat says, "You need to be swift with those, otherwise," and you hear a slight screeching noise as this little monkey climbs up a bar and snatches the last bit of the fruit out of your hand. And he's like, "Yeah, that one in particular is a macaron. They come from the south in Gratellan.
Quick.
Known for being quick and stealing things from tourists. Did you you didn't happen to have any jewelry on, did you?"
Only my holy symbol around my neck.
Not anymore.
As long as it's around, not around your wrist, you should be fine. And you feel your, like, any long sleeved clothes you had, you can see that they've been pulled back slightly as the monkey's hand grabbed the fruit with one arm and then shot a hand up to see if there's anything shiny with the other hand.
Quick.
Oh, if you've all enjoyed the menagerie enough, Visira awaits.
Zeke would like to
Of course.
cast Speak with Animals and just make sure that none of them are abused.
Ooh,
Go
good
ahead
idea.
and cast Speak with Animals. And what would you like to ask them? Just generally, is anybody in trouble? Like those kind of targeting questions?
It's like, are they content? Are they, are they hurt? Do the humans or the humanoids hurt them? Those two
So when
questions.
you make a perception check for me, this is a very large menagerie, and you cast Speak with Animals at a time where everybody is incredibly excited. It is breakfast. There's a lot of noise happening, and a lot of voices start pouring into your head as you try to work through the crowd of voices to ask your question.
Okay.
So then, with an 8, since it is a magical ability, you can work through a little bit. We would have really only had to have an issue if I think you rolled a 1. So we dodged that bullet enough, but you get a few of them that you get their attention just briefly enough to be like, "Hey, stop eating, please. How are you doing?" And each of them is just like happy, full, good, yeah, very good. Most of them, you get the sense that generally speaking, everything in here is happy and well cared for, and there seems to be enough space. Really, looking from the outside of this massive villa, about a third of it is dedicated to this outdoor garden and menagerie. So there is a lot of room for them to move, but in the end, they are caged animals, and there is a sense of missing the freedom of being out in the trees again. Any follow-up questions, Zeeg?
No, but I do visibly relax.
Good. Uskoth looks to the group. "If that would be everything, please, this way." Leads
Yes,
you.
let's not keep the princess waiting.
Very good. Yes. Uskoth leads you down a tiled marble hallway. You can feel the transition from outside, where, even though being this high up, a very on-the-nose reference, but sand, it gets everywhere. It gets everywhere here too. Even hundreds of feet above the desert itself, this great city has sand everywhere. And this is the first place you have stepped where that grinding feeling beneath your feet dissipates, and you come in contact with clean, polished marble flooring. And very open and airy, but all of the sand has been moved away, and you can see a couple servants feverishly cleaning and making sure that the rooms are prepared and very spotless as they make their way in.
Anne would like to make an Arcana check to see if there's something magical that is making it unperceptible for the walking motion of the city and stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to make a general Arcana check, sure. So the 12, it looks something you've spotted with these massive cities for a long time is they, first of all, they don't move very fast. Based on the design of the city, there are anywhere between 6 and 10 legs to the whole city. And if they move almost like an ant, where groups of the legs move in unison. So the city always has a few legs form or are creating at least a triangular type base. A great amount of stability is brought into the design, and magic is greatly at play here. A lot of things are done to make sure that the legs stay balanced and the weight is distributed evenly across it. But on the surface here, they move slow enough that between the engineering feats and some trickery of magic, you don't feel the city moving beneath you.
All right.
What you do get too with the Arcana check and just quickly glancing down the hall, not all of the maids or the servants are using any sort of particular devices like a broom. Some of them are really just walking with a spell book and performing prestidigitation and keeping the halls clean via magic. But you're brought in to this large sitting room, a grand oval dining table is laid out before you. Let me think here. So, Anne, for sure, and Zeeg, this is likely the most food you've seen in one place at any given time. There are piles of food, cacophonies of just fruits, steaming meats. There's a bowl of fresh fried eggs that are available, and some still in the shells of different species. This is a feast that almost seems prepared for a group 5 to 10 times your size. There is
Why do you think I didn't bother really eating much if anything, before I left?
I don't think Anne has ever encountered excess like this before, so he was not expecting this.
Oh yeah, very much outside of your idea
Yeah.
of what would be acceptable for food.
Yeah, his clan leaders are all about we take exactly what we need, no more, no less.
Yep.
You see this big spread in front of you, and Uskoth directs you, please, have a seat, enjoy some food. He snaps his fingers, and in walks 3 very well-dressed individuals carrying trays that have wine, tea. They have coffee from the jungle continent of Katala, far to the west. There's various juices available, but they come around with trays of different drinks, and you are offered a selection. And those of you that are not used to this sort of excess start looking around at all the extra seats and begin to wonder when the other shoe drops. You know, when is the 50 other people going to be coming in to eat? But you're left to your own devices for about 15 minutes looking over this massive amount of food.
Zeke takes just enough of the best bits to make a small meal, but he's not particularly enthused by so much wasteful excess.
Zero actually does not sit down at the table. He stands just behind Anne, kind of to the left, with his staff in hand. Kind of like he's guarding more than anything. But it generally looks like he has no intention of sitting down or partaking.
Aiden pulls out a chair, looks at all the food, and says, I've only seen this much food from an outsider's perspective, and grabs a few things to try.
I'm sitting down. I haven't seen this big a spread since that major convening of the colleges a couple of years ago.
Anne will sit by you and ask to hear more about that.
Uskoth kind of chimes in. Yes, Leventus provided some different special custom items for that event. I recall that the colleges over in Busat It was quite a journey for us to go to the West Coast like that. It was an event for the ages. I didn't realize you were there.
I was a little more in the background, but yes, I was there.
Well, I hope it was as enjoyable as today's breakfast is.
Thank you, sir.
Oh.
Everything is wonderful.
Uskoth shoulders up a little bit to Zero and looks you over for just a moment. Do the Yurig have issues with all the sand out here?
This unit is remaining functional. There is no need to worry.
Interesting. I've only heard rumors of your kind. I haven't seen many in the flesh. Well, the metal, whatever you're made of.
Brayden chuckles at
just
that
kind of stands
interaction.
there and doesn't respond.
Anne is going to grab some different delicacies that he's never seen or heard of before, just to try different things.
Roll a d20 for me. Let's see where you grab some delicacies from. What region of the world? Because there's stuff from all over here. 12. Okay, so Evans was from our northern continents. You find a stuffed sausage that is almost black in color, and if Anne were to ask about it, I'm sorry, don't want to presume and take over your character for you, but do you ask what it is?
Yes,
before you
I
say?
think Anne would ask about it. He is curious to learn about different cultures.
The tiefling that is one of the tieflings that is serving drinks looks in and goes, yes, that's quite a long ways. That comes from the steppes of Galea. It's about a 3-month journey for it to get here, but they make this wonderful sausage that's spiced with various things from the cities. The Furbolg druids from the region are quite adept at growing the most amazing herbs, and the humans from that region have made this blood sausage, and it's quite delicious. Probably one of the best you'll ever have.
I'm sure Anne loves it, because Anne is cool with that kind of stuff.
Anybody else have any questions about any of the food? And have any conversation before we jump in? Okay. About 15 to 20 minutes go by of you enjoying this rich spread of delicacies. The drinks flow for those of you that do drink. Does anybody consume in excess in terms of alcohol? Just a quick question.
Zero doesn't consume anything at this point.
Okay.
Brayden does, but not in excess.
Okay. So
I
nobody.
think Anne is mostly trying like the teas and coffees.
The coffee is very good, and
Yeah, same here.
So for Morwin and Anne, you'll both get advantage on your next roll from the coffee, from the energetic bit of zip that it gives you.
Nice.
Amazing.
And Drayden, you feel a little bit more comfortable. The ales are spiced and not of dwarven make. And any of the other foods that you decide to put behind it are just, everything's exciting and new. So you'll get advantage on your next social check. So if you do any persuasion or intimidation, you have a little bit of liquid courage.
All
Really
right.
good to go. After about 15 to 20 minutes, a female shifter enters the room in a very flowing, open, almost my best description of this is very much the Jasmine kind of pantsuit from Aladdin. You got the large
Yeah.
billowing legs, a very almost sheer silk and sateen, a bit of a cloak coming off the back too. Everything in maroons with accents of the cyan baby blue. And just so everybody does know, we did get a $30 donation. Thank you very much. And we have 3 re-rolls in the tank for anybody who wants to take one of the re-rolls.
Nice.
Awesome.
So thank you for that donation. But she steps in, and as she does, you see everybody straighten up, and Uskoth speaks from the back. Lady, everybody please, the Princess Basira. And she nods briefly to you. And as she sits down, she sits in a larger chair at the head of the table. There were some very maroon, pillowy cushions built all around it in almost a pile. And she sits and leans a little bit sideways and crosses her legs as two of the servants quickly bring up you see that they pour her coffee, particularly from the ones that you were drinking. Same jar,
perfect.
not a fresh jar. And there is a small spread of fruit, and a single piece of bacon is brought to her, a very light breakfast. And she looks, and you'll excuse me for a moment if I eat, but I heard that I have the group of you to thank for not only stopping the attack of these lizard folk, but in convincing them to be an envoy to the city for their people. For she looks to Anne, for your people. Yes?
Yes.
How
They're
did
of the
you-
Ekans clan.
How did you convince them? We've had to skirmish with them for years as we stopped on the eastern border for water.
Well, I'm fairly persuasive, but I had some help.
I can see that. Your friends all look very capable. As she scans, she looks at Zero. You even have a Yurig with you. How did you find him?
They just showed up.
You didn't come as a group. You all met for this.
Yes.
I think that's what we'd
Hero
said, yeah.
came to help.
Pretty much.
Scott,
I was in the area.
Oh. Scott answered, yes, they answered the call for heroes to defend, and it's the crew we had. They apparently came in individually. That's even more impressive that you were able to come together with diplomacy rather than combat. I'm surprised.
Many of us share that particular preference.
That's very good. We don't like to drive anybody out with violence, but unfortunately, diplomacy has failed for us in the past. It's I'm sure you know Mr. Ekans, you said?
Yes, but please, you can just call me Anne.
Yes. Please. Basira is fine. I don't need the pleasantries of princess among friends. They have been evasive, and diplomacy has never quite worked. I haven't liked to have to resort to violence, but it seems dissuading them with that has always been what's helped us. So I thank you for bringing them to us peacefully, but unfortunately, I bring you today for a matter that is one that may not be able to be solved peacefully. You see, there's another city approaching. We plan to stop to trade in 2 days' time. And the city of Rezeedah is one that we have traded with in the past. Has always been an amicable experience. However, they took something that belongs to me. And it is devastating to lose it for our city. Lavento suffers every day. They have claimed it as their own. This they call it their jewel of Rezeedah. This device that exists below the belly of the city.
What
I
is
need
it
back.
for?
It ensures that the city runs effectively. You know, these were built by my ancestors. They take time and management and upkeep, and the majority of the city's funds go to maintaining what little is left. You know, the magic can only go so far. Sometimes you need new technology to increase efficiency, and we had something that was made by an artificer that was a wonderful piece of technology that increased efficiency of our water supply and kept the wood from rotting and twisting and snapping as easily, and we didn't have to risk as many lives keeping the place running. And they took this jewel of Rezeedah and they placed it in their city, and now Rezeedah benefits from our hard work. I want it back.
Can Zero,
How much are you paying?
Let's go with
can
Zero
Zero
first.
Can Zero check insight, try and see if she's being honest or forthright?
Yeah, go right ahead. Go make an insight check for me. And while he's making the insight check, Zeeg, what did you want to ask?
How much are you paying for this little retrieval mission?
Well, it appears that in Zero, looking over the princess's face, you get a sense of airy diplomacy that likely permeates all of her conversation. You don't find it to be um, you don't find it to be dishonest or not forthright. You believe that she's telling the truth, but she does seem very offended that Rezeedah would take this item from her, this thing.
I was gonna say Anne was also gonna do an insight check.
Sure. What we'll do then is we'll do an aid action, and we'll let Zero assist your roll there and give you advantage. All right, with a 28, then you feel there is a Anne looking in and kind of glancing back at Zero, having been out there as Zero, caught this merchant and kept them from fighting with the lizard folk youngling, that Zero also sensed something wasn't right. So you really buckle down and look into her and kind of think as she starts discussing the price with Zeeg. It almost feels like this could be something that the two groups have fought over in the past, and the original ownership may be unclear. But
Okay.
the deception that you sense is that she may be taking something that not truly belongs to any particular city, so to speak.
Okay.
And she looks back to Zeeg. And, yes, of course. Price is no object, but I think you would find more interesting some of the things that we have to offer you from the far reaches of the world. And she waves a hand, and after a moment, Uskoth opens the door behind him, and you see walk in a large group of servants, and the excess of the food before you pales in comparison to the riches brought in behind you. Not only trays mounted with gold and gems, rubies, different colors, but also items of great importance. You see, individually, each of you sees something in this collection of treasure that speaks to your interest directly. Zero, you see a book that is inscribed on the front of it with information about the Yurig, and it's a book on the studies of the Yurig and how to awaken the soul within. Immediately walks right past you. Zeeg, you see nesting on a small pile of gold a very small dragon wormling that is just, it's not chained or anything, but it sits confidently on top of this tray. Not full dragon, but a creature that would be of great interest to you. And as the servant walks by, it spouts a little bit of fire in your direction. There is no deception here. You all have the overwhelming sense that each of these specific items was selected to entice you, or if that did not, the pile of riches on trays was intended to do so.
I'd like to
offer-
ask something.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask about the origin of the jewel, as to whether or not it's going to be dangerous or safe for us to go and collect it, like to handle it itself. So, what do I need to do for that?
We'll come to Anne right after this. You can just ask that, really. That's kind of
Okay.
a question you could ask, and if you want to try to persuade for more information, we'll do a social roll after that. But she
Okay,
won't give up
okay.
immediately. It's likely dangerous, but you all seem capable of handling and dissuading danger. They don't want to give it up. They went through great effort to take it from me, so why would they just hand it over?
Well, I mean, just because you can convince people to not fight doesn't mean you can convince an object to not fight.
It is true. The object itself does hold great power. It's quite a strong and violent object, but it is not prone to violence. It is capable of great power, but doesn't threaten to lash out just simply because you move it from one place to another. But
Okay.
unfortunately, my details are sparse. I am not one for breaking and entering or planning heists or how to best avoid guard. I am just someone who has to manage this great city of people and ensure that the commerce comes to our city and that we keep walking every day. So I leave those details to you to find out.
All right, I have 2 questions. The first one Anne will ask is, when was the last time that, what is this city called? Leventos?
Leventos. Yep.
What was the last time that Leventos was in possession of this object?
The jewel was last here 2 years ago.
Okay. Does it frequently change hands?
It changed hands then, and only then.
All right, he's gonna do an insight,
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
and
That
I'll
one
use my
definitely seemed-
advantage from the coffee now.
Okay. So with copy advantage and a 26, she is definitely not telling the truth about when or how often it has changed hands. It
Mhm.
was clear that it was here 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but you don't have a clear picture of how often it's changed hands before then.
Okay. That's fine. And then the next thing that did Anne notice while they were eating, like, I guess during conversation, were like servants like watching them to figure out what might be most enticing to them? Like, how did they know exactly what?
Make a perception check for me,
Okay.
just to think back on that. 22, you definitely were being watched. The means to the ends of whether or not that's where they discovered what you were interested in, you're having a hard time piecing together how what you ate or how you carried yourself or what you were holding on your person, how those things could have been directly translated to what interests you. They were definitely checking you out and helping you, and mostly were just speaking among themselves as co-workers do, but you don't sense any hostilities from the folks that were assisting.
Okay.
So, my offer to you would be if you bring the Jewel of Rezeedah back to this room in 2 days' time. If you've never seen two of the walking cities of Ashihoya meet, we'll meet and stop both cities and park next to each other for 1 day, and the citizens will descend below the cities and set up a trade fair in the shade of the cities. During that time is when I expect you to make your move. And if during that day the Jewel of Rezeedah is present back in this room, you may select one tray to take with you. Each of you.
That is a generous offer. You will have to probably come up with a different name for it once you have possession of it. Jewel of Rezeedah might sound incriminating.
I very much expect to have it renamed when I have possession of it. It's just known by the jewel, or known by that name more often now, because that's the word that has spread compliments of the citizens of Rezeedah.
How did they steal this? How did they
I
steal
do
it?
not know. I honestly do not know. Reports have been vague. Those that were guarding the jewel were found dead, and I don't have the most clear picture of how exactly they stole it from me.
But they stole it from this room.
Not from this room. I would just like it back here in this room so that I might see it and be confident that your mission has been successful.
Were you the leader at the time?
Oh yes, I have ruled Leventos for the last 15 years.
Okay, I wasn't sure how long your reign had been.
Has this Jewel of Rezeedah had other names in the past?
It's known by a few names, but most commonly the Jewel of Rezeedah is what it is referred to as. I'm sure many people might have different names for it, but that is what it's most common.
Do you have any documentation about it? Maybe.
Fortunately, no. It was the device was made by an artificer, and it was quite an interesting discovery and piece of mechanical equipment, but there's no trade regulations or much like that you might see in cities like Edstow from Gertellen or in Busat, where many cultures trade. We of Ashihoya trade freely with an open market, and we don't bar people down with strange things like documentation. It's not something that is usually done here.
Is there a library?
In the city? Yes, there's a library here.
Okay. That might be helpful to learn more about maybe the people that we might be up against. Unless you have more information about Rezeedah that you could share with us.
Rezeedah is like many of the cities in Ashihoya. It's a place of commerce and trade. And their people are also great inventors. I know many sorcerers who are trained in Rezeedah and to hone their powers for the benefit of all, and they tend to be hired out to different cities, but that's really most of what I know about them.
Zero finally pipes up and says, "What will happen to Rezeedah without this jewel?"
Rezeedah is a fine city with many intelligent people. Leventos is older than Rezeedah, and it needs the jewel more. It's just why it was created and placed here, so it could help benefit this city that needs it most. Rezeedah, jealousy and greed must have struck them, is all that I can think.
How was this place chosen to have this jewel? Was it a between multiple cities, or was it made here?
It was created here, I believe.
Okay.
It has been some time, and the details are fuzzy. This was initially brought to my attention by the artificers of my city, but this was a long time ago. I don't have a direct hand in the creation of object. And she holds up her hands. Mine are delicate for shaking the hands of others and
how old
greeting
is
people in
this
parties.
object?
I don't know the exact age. I'm sorry. You're beginning to
so
exceed the realm of my knowledge.
He's very skeptical about how this very important thing that was allegedly made here, that she doesn't have a lot of details about it. That seems kind of suspicious. Especially since we're supposed to steal it from a city that is known for their
artificers and inventors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again,
so I think Anne is going to say, I'd like to confer with my group momentarily, if you don't mind.
Very well. I have other duties to attend to, and would like to allow you to discuss here, as you will. Uskoth will see you out when you're ready, but please, I hope you accept my offer, and Uskoth will take your answer from you. You must pardon me. I have other duties to attend to. Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, but of course.
So, Anne will share his suspicions.
Zero's going to caution. It just says, this unit has been in noble houses before. They have many years.
Yeah.
True.
We should take our discussion elsewhere.
Anne was going to suggest that as well.
Uskoth pipes up. The gardens are a private place. I would recommend you have your conversation there, and I will wait by the gate for you to be done.
Of
And
course.
well, if you're ready to leave, we'll escort you to the gardens so you can see that area and have a private conversation there.
All right.
But
Does anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I do. As we were approaching the city, I noticed something strange that I've never really seen before. People with ropes and hooks underneath the city, like they were climbing it, maybe. Some kind of guns were involved, but I couldn't quite tell what was going on. But I don't know how to explain it. But it may.
Yes, I saw that too. Couldn't make any sense of it though.
Maybe that's how the thieves stole the jewel.
Maybe.
I may have some contacts that can help sort out where the thieves got it. If they had it.
Then
All right.
let's go meet with them.
Yeah.
All right.
This unit.
If you prepare,
better
go ahead.
Yeah, this unit is better suited for research. There is library in the city. Zero would suggest that this unit goes and tries to find more information on Rezeedah and the people.
That would be most helpful. Thank you, Zero.
That makes
Okay.
a lot of sense.
Where should we
And if
meet you?
Where would you like to meet back up, Zero?
Zero feels the tavern would be the best place to meet back up.
Then we shall meet there this evening.
Aye.
The tavern's name is the Sand Flea, by the way.
We'll see you at the Sand Flea.
Zero merely nods and kind of walks off towards the library.
That's a weird
If
one,
you
huh?
were all, if you are planning to leave, we'll stop the group of you as you get ready to exit the city or the villa, which is gated. Can I take this as a sign of accepting of Our Lady Pasira's offer? Is this a mission that you're willing to undertake?
Yes, we will do our best to
I think
Very
so.
good.
have an outcome in your favor.
Yes.
Well, you have 2 days' time to prepare, and we wish you the very best of luck. Thank you again for serving Leventos. And with that, you all individually decide what might be your best mode of discovering the next step forward in your journey. And we will take a 10-minute break. I've got us at about the halfway mark here. If our Twitch moderators are available, we'd like to, at this time, do our giveaway and let the people open up for the raffle. And we are going to be using the keyword Evil Hat. And I think that can be posted in Twitch chat for us as they set up the raffle. But what we're giving away is a copy of either PDF form or the soon-to-be released, and very soon, I think the beginning of this month, the Fate Accessibility Toolkit. That's from Evil Hat. That is it's for the Fate system. Jen, who was just on the last game with Satine, has opened my eyes to this accessibility toolkit, something that is very exciting for the Fate system, but also just offers a wealth of advice on how to make games more accessible. Some of the things that are included: exploration of challenges and experiences facing people with a variety of physical and mental abilities in their own words, first-hand accounts of this information, advice on how to respectfully play disabled characters for people like myself, who just want to help bring awareness and provide that sense of realism to people who may not feel as welcome in this space. Ways for you to be able to play and run those characters so they feel real to people that face those disabilities every day. So if you'd like to participate in the raffle, just check a look at the Twitch chat. Our moderators should be setting that up shortly for us. And when we come back, we'll give it away, and our moderators will get you in touch with me, and we'll be getting you that copy, either PDF, or if you're in the United States, we can ship you a physical copy. Otherwise, unfortunately, it is only PDF. They don't ship outside of the United States. But yeah, we'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us after the break. Sounds like some reports back from when we started the stream that unfortunately we got cut off on the front end. So I just want to really quickly reintroduce. This is the Jewel of Rezeedah, an adventure set in Cyorion, my homebrew world for the Everyone Games event, which is partially sighted and blind players helping raise awareness for accessibility in gaming. Today we are raising money with donations to help with able gamers, and special effect, 2 wonderful charities to help with accessibility in gaming. If you want to see what's on the schedule for tomorrow, we are the last game for tonight, but tomorrow you can see everything on the schedule at everyone-games.com. Quick reintroductions for myself and Danny for anybody listening later, since we got cut off. I'm going to throw it to Danny so she can reintroduce herself and where you can find her on socials.
Hello, I'm Danny Marie AUC, and you can find me on socials under that name, Danny Marie AUC. Just the AUC stands for Albinism Up Close. You can also find me at albinismupclose.com.
And again, I'm Ben. You can find me on Twitter at BMTheDM. And from there, you can see the world of Cyorion on World Anvil. And you can also check me out on Mondays on Spellcast Adventures at spellcastadventures.com. We're a streamed game in the world of Cyorion that you can check out there. And if you are just jumping back in from the break, we have a giveaway going that will probably run for a little bit longer that nobody has entered yet. So players, if you just want to enter the one on stream, we'll give away the other PDF copy too. So we'll do a double giveaway of a printed version. If you live in the United States, we'll have it shipped to you, or a PDF version. We'll do 2 copies. And that'll be the Fate Accessibility Toolkit. And I think we have a link we can put into the Twitch stream there. I'll make sure that link is dropped in really quick here. But you can check it out at the evilhat.com store. But join into the raffle, and we'll give a couple copies away in 5 minutes here. Yeah, we want to jump right back in. So our intrepid adventurers, who just the day before had helped save the city of Leventos from an impending attack by some lizard folk on the eastern border of the Ethereal Desert, stopped that combat with some clever use of diplomacy and ensuring that a lizard folk envoy actually made their way into the city and set up shop to help promote a sense of camaraderie and companionship, working together and living mutually as equals in this harsh desert environment with the city of Leventos and the lizard folk envoy. And these same folks have just had breakfast with the princess of Leventos, the leader of the city, named Pasira, who asked them to get something back that she claimed belonged to her, something she calls the Jewel of Rezeedah, that most people know it by as a device or some gem or jewel that exists in the city of Rezeedah that is going to be meeting with Leventos in 2 days' time to establish trading, to allow people to migrate between the 2 cities. And our adventurers are a little bit wary of this conversation, not sure if Pasira is telling the whole truth. So we've got some folks like Zero, who's going to be heading to a library to do some research, and everybody else
is probably Morwen.
Okay, Morwen joining. We're going to run down the list real fast and see what everybody wants to get into today, and then they plan to meet back at the tavern, the Sand Flea, where they were introduced today. So let's just run through the list here. Drayden, where would you like to go, and what would you like to investigate or ask questions? Remember, we have the whole city at our disposal. There might be some other transplants from Rezeedah that currently live in the city that you could ask questions of. It's a big city, a lot of people here. There's also our friends down below the city who live in that slightly underground area that may have some answers to some questions for you. So who would you like to go see, Drayden?
I think I'll go back beneath the city because I think the rumblings of the truth might be more likely to appear down there than it would in the upper crust, where maybe things are a little more glossy and clean. So, yeah, let's go down there.
Okay, Zeeg, where would you like to head?
I am going to use my contacts in the city's underworld to try and figure out how how they got out.
Sorry, having a bit of a hard time hearing you, Zeeg. One more time for you. Using your contacts in the underworld to do one more time.
To try to figure out how they managed this heist, and specifically how they got out of the city undetected.
Okay. And Anne, where would you like to go?
Anne would also like to go under the city and maybe try to learn more about the mechanism of how the city actually moves.
Okay.
See if there's trying to find ways of egress maybe, because the princess said that they were constructed very similarly, so maybe trying to figure out how best to get in and out.
Very good. Let's start on the surface of the city with Zero and Morwen. You make your way to the central library of Leventos, and it is simply called the Leventos Library. There's a plaque outside that says, generously donated by our leaders of Leventos, and it doesn't say anybody in particular, but I get the sense it was a public works project to make the people happy that there may be some education here the city may have been lacking before. But it is a nice facility. Seems to be retrofitted from a previous warehouse. There are some tables on the interior, but there's a modest amount of books inside the city, inside this library particularly. What would you like to go check out? They're split into sections. There are some fiction sections, and there's also history and religious sections as well as sections about the arcane and geography of the world, things like that. Let's go to Zero first.
Zero would want to check out history. He's trying to specifically find references to this jewel in the city's past.
Okay. And Morwen, what would you like to go check out?
I want to look and see if there's anything written on this jewel or something like it. Just to find out, more about the actual item itself, if there's anything to be learned about said item.
Okay. Just as a reminder to our players, you have 3 rerolls, and to a reminder to our stream, any donations that come into the stream, every $10 donated goes into a reroll pool that our players are able to use to reroll any dice at any time. Let me go ahead and get an investigation check from the two of you, please, as you go ahead and start looking through the library to try to find what you're looking for. And during that time, if our moderators would like to raffle off our 2 giveaways, let's close that down and get a couple winners, and we'll start to get in touch with them after the stream. All right, Zero, with a 17, you head over to a section that has historical information on the comings and goings of the city. Interesting things and events that have happened, a series of city ledgers that has information about trade stops, a lot of history on what the city has done in terms of who they've done trade with. There's some information that's public about adventurers, guild registrations, as far south as Gretelin, as far north as going past the Busat Protectorate. There's some regional adventurers information. You find a mention of the Jewel of Rezeedah from about 2 years ago, that said that the Jewel of Rezeedah had come to Leventos. But interestingly, you don't find any information about it being stolen. It's a series of information about the city of Rezeedah stopping to visit with Leventos, the two cities parking, and during the trade fair, the Jewel of Rezeedah was at the city, and then there's no mention of it being stolen. And Morwen, with a 9, going through some of the history of the artificers, unfortunately, there's a lot of invention work that is done to keep these mechanical monstrosities, these huge cities, working. Artificers guilds from Busat, the city of gates over Kutala, this now diplomatic and melting pot, a very large city. There's an entire guild dedicated to artificing in that city that has members that come and find great work in the cities of Ashihoya that are hired almost directly from those colleges. And you find just so much information, it is incredibly difficult for you to find anything directly related to the Jewel. But you do know that artificers visit all of these cities and create and help maintain the cities in the area.
I thought of another question that Anne would have asked the princess is, when was the last time these two cities met up for, like, trade back and forth?
It would have been about a year ago, is what the
Okay.
answer to that would have been. Yep. All right. So, Zero and Morwen, you spend a couple hours researching, and that's the information you receive. So, with that, we'll pivot over to Drayden. Heading down beneath the city, you make your way back toward the Sand Flea, an entrance to the underside of the city, not necessarily what would be referred to as the underworld of the city. It's just more of a subsurface city. And it's a unique culture down there. People are a little different, but they all get along lovely. There are series of markets that exist under the city, a little more cramped conditions. But where would you like to start? Do you want to start in the Sand Flea with some of the people you know and pivot out from there? How would you like to go about this? And also, I know that Zeeg is working with Underground Contacts and Anne Ekins is as well. Are either of you working directly with Drayden during this research time?
No, I'm not.
I might try to meet up with her, but mostly I'm just trying to scope out just the bottom part of the city.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, Drayden, what would you like to do?
On my way back to the Sand Flea, can I stop by the market and, under the guise of picking up some trinkets, something not super flashy or anything, try and talk to some of the salespeople there and see what they might know about this jewel?
Make a persuasion check, and then I am just going to roll a d20 out in the blind here for everybody to see for how lucky you get. Anything above a 10 is going to be lucky for you finding information, and we got 16. You actually meet up with a person working in the market stall selling jewelry that is from Rezeedah. You can
Ooh.
tell after speaking with them for just a moment, they have the colors in their shop are orange is the primary color with a splash of green across the top. And upon a little conversation, the market stall owner, this lovely halfling woman, looks back and goes, "Oh yes, I've spent a little time working in Rezeedah. I spent some time here in Leventos. You know, you have to travel around to keep the business going, but this is a lovely place. I'm ready to take down the shop. You know, most of these shops are temporary, and I'll be going home to Rezeedah here soon. It is a lovely place, the desert, and I just find that I'm a little happier over in there. So when we meet up in a couple days' time, I'll be breaking down the shop. So it's good that you caught me. Otherwise, you would have missed me. I'd have been back home. But
Okay.
but yeah, what would you like to know about Rezeedah? It's a lovely place.
I've heard whispers about the Jewel of Rezeedah, and I've gotten a little curious about that. Can you tell me anything about its history?
Oh, the Jewel. Jewel's a lovely child. Yeah, she's quite the charmer. You know, we do love her. She's being such an extended member of the family, we find that we never get to really contact all the nobles, but that's why we call her the Jewel of Rezeedah. She's out in the streets constantly working with the people, and she's a very lovely girl.
Plot twist.
Yeah. I was very much under the impression that the jewel was an object. You've told me a lot here.
Well, some of them may think she's an object, but those people are a little bit backwards of thinking. No, the jewel is she's a sharp girl. Yeah, she's lovely. No, she's a very talented artificer, that girl. And the last time I was there, it would have been, I came over from Rezeedah 2 years ago when we stopped over last time. We had stopped and traded, and I know the families met, and the woman you speak of, her name is Magana, and that's Meganna for anybody writing it down. Magana is a very sharp woman, and she created this device. Shines a little blue. It actually does have a lovely gem. I can see why you might have got confused. She is the Jewel of Rezeedah. She created this device. That was a technological breakthrough. It was able to filter water, as you can see, and she points to these large sails on the back of the city that you have seen. They're these big sheets of linen and cloth, laced with copper, that captures mist and dew and clouds and fog that may happen to roll through the desert, but it happens to help catch water and bring it into the city. One of the things she was able to do was this device. It helps capture more water as we're walking, but instead of moving that into our drinking supply like Leventos does here to supplement it, she found a way to work it into the city itself, back down through the legs, to keep those wooden legs hydrated and really keep the wood healthy, so it helps combat all that dry rot that you get from being out in the desert sun for so long with no water source, and keeps the city moving at a much better pace. The wood is flexible, and it was a very astounding discovery, and they brought it here. They intended to share it and share the ideas with Leventos, but whether they were incompatible or something, they were on their way, and Magana stayed with her city, of course, with their device. But yeah, it's an interesting for a girl of only about 17, 18 years old. She's quite a sharp one.
I see. So they've tried to do the same thing here. Do you know much about that interaction when she was here?
I don't. Nope. No information.
All right.
Sorry.
All right.
I know that it was a great event. They brought out all the local singers and dancers, and there was a great fair, and both the families met, and Asira is all alone here in Leventos. She has a couple family members, but they're distant, and I know she's been looking for a suitor for some time to grow the family. But I'm sure you saw, if you've ever been up to the villa, it's quite a lonely place. There's just the menagerie you can see from the outside, but there's never any children inside. It's very sad.
I see. Is there any connection between Pasira and the jewel?
No, not that, other than she met her a couple of years ago. It's about the only thing I know.
All right. Drayden is pleased with that information. So.
Okay. So we will, as you head down to the Sandflea to collect a little more information, we'll switch over to Anne Ekins. And what would you like to be doing, Anne?
All right. Definitely walking around, scoping things out, but also trying to ask around to see if I can find people who might, work with the machinery and other workings of the city down here.
Make an investigation check for me. And while you're making that roll, I will say we play tested this module with some friends. They were in town from DragonCon. It took them all the way to standing behind the girl for her to introduce herself as the Jewel of Rezeedah, and they about at the very end of the game they all went, "Wait a minute." They didn't ask around this. Yeah, they didn't ask around the city at all about it beforehand. There was definitely people waiting to talk to you about it. I thought that was quite funny. So
I
the
got a
17.
17.
Perfect. 17 investigation check. As you start to move around the city and ask questions, you find that the guards um, are the ones that, and some of the engineers, if you catch a couple of them getting ready to leave, and you see them equipped with this large device on their hip. It really looks almost like a crossbow. There's a padded kind of ball at the end of it with a huge winding coil. And it looks like it's got a trigger system like a crossbow. But as you're trying to ask them questions, they're like, "Look, lady, we got to get to work here,
I'm a
okay?"
dude. I'm a dude.
Or dude, sorry, I apologize. I was looking at Danny's picture and in the Discord, and I said, "Lady." Look, buddy, we got to get to work here. All right, we got to get going, but people aren't allowed to go under the city. All right, it's a dangerous place, a lot of moving parts. If you're not trained, you can't go, and the guards
I
aren't letting you in.
understand that, but people do end up down there, whether they're meant to be or not.
That's why we got guards with us now. You see, these tough fellas are going to keep me safe. They're going to keep anybody out. But yeah, if you need access under the city, you got to get it cleared with with the palace. That's some important business down there. But we're out to work, and you watch them, and this is much closer to actually seeing how these devices work. They
Is the palace
literally
different than the villa?
the villa is the house inside of like the greater palace.
Okay.
Yep. They actually run up to the side of the city and jump off of the side and prepare to like make their way down below. You see the guards had come out of a post and there was a stairway down below. But another one coming up that sees them jump. This dwarf kind of makes their way up to you and looks and says, "Yeah, they're a bit grumpy when they gotta work, but there's a couple ways into the lower levels of the city. If you're asking about it, you're gonna find trouble both directions. Those guys are going to get some work done," and you hear now the zip and winding of these guns as you see them jump off the side, and you're kind of holding onto this railing looking over, and they all turn around in air and pull out the gun and shoot it back at the city, and you can hear the crackling of electricity as this device impacts underneath the city, and it repels them and swings them underneath.
Like a grappling hook?
Yep.
Okay.
And he says that device is special. They're only issued to people working. They're all kept inside the guard tower there and various points of the city, but it takes a lot of training to get used to using those, and there's special accesses underneath the city, but you won't get in. I mean, you don't have to worry about anybody breaking in under the city. There's special magic codes and runes on the doors that require entrance. And
is
then
this a new development?
No. The Gidgee guns, those things that they're using, they've been around for a long time. They were invented a long time ago. Some gnomish inventor with a long complex name that they just call them Gidgee guns now. But really,
more just the wards. Are those?
Oh no, those have always been in place. They're safety devices to keep people out that shouldn't be down underneath there. If anyone climbs up, they're gonna get underneath the city and have to find something, some way to make it past a magical ward while hanging on the underside of the city. Honestly, you'd have an easier time getting past the guard tower and making it down the stairs into the maintenance access, but then you got to get through me and all my guys. So you rest easy. No one's breaking in up here or down below the belly.
The only reason I ask is I heard that there was a potential break-in a few years ago, and wanted to know if you knew anything.
Been working here about 5 years, and there's never been a break-in as far as I know. No one really wants to go down there. It's dangerous and sweaty working underneath the city.
Of course. Well, thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Not a problem. You can hear in the distance the slight electric zapping and the wet thud of this moisturized, like cotton ball kind of looking thing that was at the end of that gun as it thuds and slaps into the city, and you can just hear the distant zzz as they wind up and kind of propel themselves into the city. Anything else directly for Ann Ekins on top of the city?
And not until I meet back up with the group.
Sounds good. Let's shift over to Zeeg.
So, Zeke walks into his contacts shop and says, "What's the deal? I was supposed to be kept aware of all the high-paying gigs in this city."
Sitting behind the counter is a very nervous looking rabbit folk. That's got these long floppy brown ears and a set of like small spectacles, and he looks over and goes, I Zeke, listen, I'm sorry, okay, there's always gigs paying in the city. I heard what I had no idea she was gonna offer you that, okay? I know it's crazy, but look, I got the inside scoop for you, okay? I got a little bit of information. It's gonna go a long way if you can cut me in on it.
Let's see how good that information is.
Well,
To be clear, if you don't tell me what I need to know, you will get cut in.
Go ahead and make an intimidation roll, as this person is clearly backed up against the wall and is very afraid of Zeeg. Look, I don't want any trouble. I know what you're capable of. I just want to help out and get a little money for my trouble, okay?
I'm gonna reroll.
Okay, so we're gonna burn our first donation reroll. Go ahead and roll again. You can burn another one if you. We got.
Do it.
2 more. You got 2 more in the tank.
Thank you guys so much.
We'll get a good one out of it yet.
Come on.
Oh,
There we go.
Better.
All right. With an 18, it's like, okay, Zeke, look, you don't have to threaten me. I'll tell you. All right, I know I got the information to get you in under the city. All right, you don't have to deal with the guards. If you can get a hold of some of those Gidgy guns, I got the code for you to get in. You want it? Can you cut me in on it?
yeah, we'll see. I'm not sure I like where this is headed, but if there's any money in this, I'll keep you in mind.
Okay,
To
listen.
be clear, I expect better information in the future.
Hey, this is good. Not everybody gets the codes to those access doors underneath the city, okay? This was tough to come by, especially from Rezeedah. It's 2 days out. I had to pull some strings. I had to burn a couple bridges to get this. But look, if you get underneath the city and you get up to the door, the code is Griffin, Turtle, Ox, Bat, Dragon. And Zeeg does not need to write that down. I'm gonna just give it to you later too. But listen, so you're gonna, I don't know how the devices work, but I've been told that the code is Griffin, Turtle, Ox, Bat, Dragon.
Alright, 2 more questions for you, and then I'm out of it here. Who actually nicked this jewel?
What I hear is that the princess has really wanted to have the jewel for a long time and is willing to do whatever it takes to get it, even if that means stealing it herself. I don't think she ever had it, honestly. She claims it was hers, but I don't think it was hers.
And
What else do you know?
And how did they get out? How did they get away from the city? Do you know?
I think that if they got away from the city, they probably used those Gidgy guns. That's the safest way. Otherwise, you have to take a lift. You got to go up and down the city. You're going to check on the guards at the top, at the bottom. People are going to see you. If you want to be quick and sneaky, those cities are close enough that you can grapple over there.
Hold on, you're telling me they use Gidget guns? But no. Is there a chance they're still in the city?
A couple years ago, I'd be surprised.
No.
That's a-
I'm sorry. The thieves that stole it this time around. Is there a chance that they're still in the city?
Oh, nobody stole it. As far as I know, like, she wanted it a long time ago. She never owned it. I don't think she ever had it. I don't think that she had anybody that like she owned the jewel to be stolen from in the first place. I don't think so.
Who is she? I thought I knew who you were talking about, but now, who is she?
Pasira, the princess. I don't think she ever owned the jewel. I don't think the jewel was here. I think she made that story up.
Okay.
But look, I
That's all I need to know.
appreciate you coming by and asking me questions, but you know, I about soiled myself there, so I'm gonna go home for a minute if you don't mind me just closing up shop and getting out of here for a few.
Good.
You come in here with your threats and it's very off-putting. Z, you got to be nicer to people.
I'm sorry. I'm just getting a foul mood when I've been cut out of coin, and I slam the door and leave.
Oh, yeah, okay. Closing up shop, changing my pants. All right. So let's shift back then to Drayden. After your conversation with the merchant upstairs, you have a couple minutes to get down in the city and poke around and find some more information.
Okay. I'm just gonna walk around in the underside of the city. What am I gonna see?
So there's a lot of different market stalls and shops set up. Very cramped quarters, a couple more open tented areas on the underside. It is, you know, you have the constant pressure and feeling of overbearingness as the wood slats above you kind of keep the city covered up. There's a lot of artificial light down here. There's a few places where the glass comes in, but really it's a little more slummy. The stench lingers just a bit, that sour smell in the air from food that may have sat out a little too long, a few people who may need a bath soon and haven't had one. But it's very, very noisy in the marketplaces down underneath the city. A lot of people yelling, a lot of open stalls of food. And you feel kind of a hand touch you as you walk by to pull you for a bit of information as somebody leans down and whispers in your ear. You see this face of this half-elf woman that has a purple and silver veil across their face and says, "Holy One, the veil Mother provides. I think the information you might seek be found over there," and points to a small shop off to the side that says Grubob's Goods.
All right. Drayden bows her head a little bit and says thank you and walks toward the shop.
And she bows back deeply, and you see this veil kind of glitter almost like starlight. But you make your way over to Grubob's shop, peek in, and it is a trash heap, for lack of a better term. There is kind of stuff piled out in all the different places. And from digging inside the heap, you see these two green clawed feet kind of kicking in the air as somebody's like rummaging through stuff. And you can hear muffled in the distance, "Oh, no, not that one. No, that's not it. Okay. All right, what else? No, yeah." And then pops up and is holding this shiny clockwork object. And you see these big gold rimmed spectacles across these two tall pointed goblin ears as this strange creature kind of turns and looks back and through thick glasses looks to you and goes, "Oh, hi there. Welcome to Grubob's Goods. What can I do for you today?"
Hey, I'm here, kind of curious, trying to learn some things about the city. This is my first time here.
Well, you've come to the right place. I know lots of stuff about the city,
uh,
especially where
I-
to find the best food that's not rotten. Not rotten.
I'm gonna need that later, so I appreciate that.
Well, very good. Very good. You came to the right place.
I'm really interested right now in this jewel of Rezeedah. someone has mentioned that to me, and I'm curious about the when it was in the city at some point. Or do you have any information about that?
Nope, never heard of a jewel. Sorry, I'm an expert on Leventos. I know a lot of stuff about this city, but I don't know the first darn thing about Rezeedah. I'm sorry.
What about the inner workings of the city? Do you know much about that?
Yes, it's a fun place to go down there and hide if you want to know stuff. And if you ever want to get down there, you're gonna need yourself one of these. And he reaches behind the counter and sets a Gidgee gun on the counter. This is the best way to get beneath the city. They think they're the only ones that got them, but I nicked a bunch of them. And you look back to the pile. Make a quick perception check for me.
Okay.
And you see there's a ton of items piled up, various pieces of furniture, rusted weapons. You see some of the sashes from different guards of different cities in various color patterns. But there's a bunch of stuff floating around. With a 6, you
Hold on,
see...
I had advantage as well.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna roll your advantage, go for it. Get it. So we'll wait on that 6, but at least with a 6, while you roll one more and see if it's better, you spot one Gidgee gun on the pile.
Okay.
With a 10, you spot 3 others. There are a few of these Gidgee guns stashed in Grubob's goods, this massive waste of just junk. But one man's trash, or one goblin's trash, as it were. Like these are very tough to come by, but you know, you spend a little time under the city and you nick a few of them, especially because you know they work on a weird charge system. You got to charge them in one of the crystals underneath the city. It has to power up the device, and then it holds on to the charge. But as soon as you start using it, you got an hour until the charge is gone. And the only places to charge them back up is underneath the city. All those devices that are working to walk the city also charge up those crystals, so that's the best place to really get them. And you don't want to tap into that power source, or you know, it's... I had a friend here once, and he tapped into one of those, and it did not end well. No, he's no longer at the city or breathing.
I see.
But, you know, that's how it is down here.
How would you be willing to let go of a few of those? Say 4 that you don't need anymore?
4 of them? Yeah, I could probably do that.
Or there's 5 of us.
Is there 5? Oh, sorry, 5.
Well, the trick is, since they only work for an hour, you're gonna need at least 2 each. You know, that's the trick, is you carry a couple of them, and then you gotta trip out there and you gotta trip back. See? Otherwise, you're gonna get down there and you're gonna be stuck, and someone's gonna come kick your butt because it takes a whole day for these things to charge up for a single hour. But I'd be willing to part with some of them for you if you got something in exchange for them.
Can I roll insight to see if this guy is giving me a hard time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He is definitely trying to persuade you.
Yeah.
It's not obvious.
I think I clicked it.
Didn't see anything come through yet. It's okay.
No, it
We'll
did
just
not.
finish
It did
it.
not.
Not a problem.
Let's
We
try
have
it
one
again.
reroll in the tank left. I
Oh
got a 5.
no!
Yeah, that's a natural 1, so a 5 total for your insight. Do you want to burn the last reroll?
What do you think, guys?
Yes.
Do it.
You think yes? Okay, let's do it. As long as you guys are okay with it.
Next one that came in there was a 22, so we'll use that one.
Oh, they both came through. Okay, perfect.
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 So, again, stream, if anybody wants to donate rerolls, a $10 donation is a reroll for the team to use. So, with a 22 against his 18 plus 3, you beat him by 1.
Wow.
So, really good use of a reroll there. Yeah, so he's trying to upsell you, but he's also being pretty honest. He did explain that they have an hour-long charge, and you know, getting around underneath the city, you'll probably want a second one, but you get the feeling that he's prepared to take a little advantage of your naivety and hike the price a little bit.
Okay. I don't know. What would you part with 10 for?
10 of them. Well, first of all, let me be very clear. This is a device that takes some use. So I'm going to charge you to train your people how to use them. Otherwise, you're going to try to use them, you're going to mess it up, and you're going to be sitting out there hanging like, like dung on the back of an ox. It's going to be really silly, and you're going to fall to your death. So I will train your group for 5 gold apiece. 25 gold, we'll train all 5 of you. And then for the lot of these, another 50 gold will cover the cost of all of them. But you will need the training. I'm not telling you a lie there. You're going to need to be trained, otherwise you're going to fall to your death. So 75 gold will definitely cut the mustard for you.
I don't really know what to do here. Someone help me.
I mean, I can't tell you that I have money.
Yep. You do know that each person in your group did just get a fee of 20 gold apiece for completing the last mission you were on. So your group as a whole has at least 100 gold.
Yeah.
However, your insight did help you know that he's probably hiking the price a little bit. You may be able to negotiate it back down if you'd like to persuade. Or you can also try to intimidate and scare him. Yep, as chat said, scare him into bringing that price on. Excuse me. A hiccup there.
I have a +4 to intimidation, so I could try that. Let's try that. Let's try it.
Okay. What would you like to say to intimidate this goblin?
I think you don't get a lot of business down here. I think you need this money, and I think you'll take a little less.
Okay. Intimidation, let's roll a charisma check for him to see how he does. Ooh.
Oh no.
You see... Oh, no, it's ooh for him. He rolled a 2.
You worried me there.
Rhubarb looks up and you see the ears go from perky to down and scared very quickly. And he goes, okay, listen. You're right. There's not a lot of business under the city. No one wants to come see a smelly goblin. I get it. Tell you what, half off on the guns. You're still going to need training. I'll do the whole lot for 50 gold. Take 25 gold right off the top on that for you.
Okay. I think maybe the party won't be too upset about that.
Good. Okay. Well, it's going to take a day to train you. So you guys come back here. We'll meet up and we'll spend a day practicing and you'll be good to go.
Okay. I'll see you in a day.
Sounds good. It was a pleasure doing business with you. And you take care of yourself out there. It's a bad underworld.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of jumps back into a pile of refuse and waste and starts looking for something else. And you hear him saying, "Oh, I knew I saw it over this way." And starts digging through and throwing trash everywhere. With that, if anybody doesn't have anything else pressing they'd like to attend to, we can move back to the group meeting each other back at the Sand Flea.
I'm good with that.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds good to me.
Z,
Josh?
good for you? Z, you're muted. Is that good
Yes.
for you?
Yes, sorry.
Sounds good. No problem. So, you make your way back to the Sand Flea after a early morning and afternoon of all that extra work. The day kind of got away from you a little bit, you know? All that nice food at the beginning, you had nice full bellies and you didn't feel it rumbling come lunchtime. You weren't starving, so you get back to the Sand Flea about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the tavern is mostly empty. A few of the regulars working, the halfling and the goblin working behind the counter kind of nod to the group as you come in, and the goblin grunts back from the kitchen. "Y'all need anything for lunch? The kitchen's still open."
Oh, that'd be great.
"All right,
Yeah.
I'll get some bread and meat and stuff out there for you. Y'all just sit tight."
Thanks.
But yeah, there's nobody else really in the tavern, so you are free to hand the scene over to you all if you would like to discuss your findings with each other.
Okay.
Stand free.
Zeke
We
is
have the
mad.
meat.
Jake
Exactly.
is mad. He tells you, "Look, we're not reclaiming anything. This is a straight up heist. She never owned the jewel. The jewel never was here.
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I'm not
I
here
wonder
to
about
rob
that.
city states.
This unit's research seems to confirm that there's only one mention of the jewel from about 2 years ago and nothing else.
Explains why she
grabs-
didn't
oh,
seem
go
to
ahead.
know much then.
Yeah. Drayden grabs a round of drinks and sets them on the table. Well, you all
As-
learned a lot, but I've learned quite a few things.
I was gonna say that before you start talking, Anne was gonna say that like while you're passing out the drinks that there are these kind of like grappling, I think they called them Gigi guns, that people use to get around under there and work on stuff under the city and such. And we could maybe try to get permission for some of them, but they seem like difficult to get.
I have the solution for that. So I was wandering around downtown, and I'm just gonna say I recount the story about how the jewel is actually a woman, an artificer, who designed this I don't know what a device for Rezeedah, and that I found some guns we can use. Some is it Gigi or Gigi?
Gigi guns.
Gigi guns. Okay. So
Yeah,
I've
Grubab
found
actually
this-
had the full name for you. And because my gnomes all have terrible long names, Grubab would have explained that the guns were originally invented by Gigitina Lestramerand, and everyone hated saying her long name and the long name of the device, so they shortened it to Gigi guns.
Gigi guns. Okay. Well, I found a shopkeeper in the underbelly of the city who may be selling us some Gigi guns along with some required training. What do you guys think about that?
I think that might be good. Oh, I also learned that,
Yeah.
it might be easier to try to go past the guards, but also that, if we try to go past guards, fights are more likely to ensue, and we don't really want that.
So, just to clarify, y'all are 100% in line with kidnapping a woman
No.
Oh
from
no.
her home city.
I think we should talk to this woman.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I was thinking the same. I wonder if we couldn't work something out with her to share some of her knowledge with the city, so that we can
Right.
maybe do exactly what Anne inspired us to do with the lizard folk.
And share
Find a peaceful
the
Yeah.
knowledge and the yeah.
I think you're being dangerously naive. We almost got manipulated into a kidnapping. I don't think we should trust this princess to treat this woman well. I think we either need to stop the princess or we need to leave well enough alone. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I think that the princess owes us a great, a debt for protecting her city. So it would
I
be in
think you
her
have a
best
point.
interest to maybe choose a different way out than what she might be accustomed to.
Well, I did discover that the princess has in fact met Magana, the jewel of Rezeedah. So we could always request an audience with the princess again and see what she thinks about this new information.
Let me rephrase. I think the best thing that we can do is put an arrow in this princess and book out of here. This is obviously a wicked person, and I think we'd be doing these people a favor by cutting the head off a serpent.
Oh, I don't
Zero
know
does
if we
not
want to
think-
jump right there.
Zero does not think
It might
that'd be
solve
the
some
greatest help.
problems
Let's,
and create
sorry,
a
Zero
slew of
is talking
others.
now.
Oh,
Let
sorry.
Zero jump in there. No problem.
Zero does not think that'd be the greatest help. Zero thinks maybe a donation of technology would help both cities immensely.
Go ahead,
I
Ryan.
will defer to the wisdom of the wiser members of our group, but my middle friend, we just got asked to commit a crime. I don't think they're going to be willing to share their technology. If they're willing to share, why didn't they try that already?
Maybe the princess wasn't
They-
willing before.
These same people were also not willing to give peace a try until we forced it.
This is true. This is true. So, would we like to approach the princess with our new knowledge, or would we like to approach the jewel Magana first?
Zero votes Magana.
As
Agreed.
does Anne.
Okay, I'm on board with that. Let's go meet
I mean,
this
it's
Magana.
her technology and her, her expertise that we are dealing with here, and I think it should be her decision how to proceed.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
This unit
Well-
still feels we need a good way to get into the city.
Would you like to take some Gitchy guns?
I can get behind that.
Have a little fun?
Okay.
Or we could
Yeah.
just...
Why not?
That, or we could just, visit as strangers. I'm good
If
with either
we
way.
have the Gidgy guns, we have them if we need them. And, if we don't have them and we end up needing them, we'd be sitting there going, oh, geez, why didn't we get the Gidgy guns?
That's a great point. Let's do it.
Okay. So you spend the rest of the evening preparing yourself mentally and getting ready for the journey ahead. You know you have a full day left before the city of Rezeedah arrives near Leventos. And you take that time for all of you to get acquainted with Grubob, the goblin. And Grubob happily instructs the lot of you on the use of Gidgy guns. A fantastic piece of technology that is essentially a bolt thrower of a crossbow type deal. It has a mechanical winding device on the cable that extends from inside of it. Some of you with Arcana investigate the device a little bit and discover that there is a very small portable hole at the end of this copper, or this end of this line. So the length of the coil of line may be, hundreds of thousands of feet long as it extends out of the gun through this very, very tiny, what you assume is a portal to a bag of holding with inside of this gun. Not large enough to put anything in other than the cable that runs into it. However, you're taught that as you fire this gun, the front of it has a pad of sorts that has a modified version of an arcane glue. I forget the exact name of the item, but there is a glue item that's like a magical item that once it sets, it lasts for 24 hours or takes a special check to remove. This is a modified version of that glue, and on this pad, when it connects with something, an electric charge zips up the line and magnetizes this glue to attach to whatever it's touching. And with this device, as you train for the day and how to swing around underneath the city, you fire the gun off, and as soon as it grabs onto something, the gun yanks your arm into the air and pulls you up 20 feet. You see one of the instructors that's working with Grubob and showing you how to use this is actually someone who uses one of the combat wheelchair design that you may have seen floating around the internet for 5th edition. The Gidgy gun has an attachment point to hook up to a belt or to hook up to one of the combat wheelchairs and enable the user to grapple around the city, and it pulls you 20 feet at a time. And the purpose of today's training is to get you used to using that yank of 20 feet to build your momentum and swing around underneath the city. And you are all, after a day's worth of training, proficient in the use of the Gidgy gun and gain your standard movement speed doubled while using the Gidgy gun to traverse the city. And you're capable of, if you had to, holding the Gidgee gun with one hand and engaging in some combat in the other hand. But it takes a
question real
full
quick.
day. Yeah.
George of the jungle.
Yeah.
Pretty
Um,
much.
This
George of the Desert.
attachment point, is it compatible
Yeah.
with Urigs?
You can probably find a hard mount on you that is a hinge well enough to hook into that attachment point, where you still need to grab it to fire the trigger to move again. But if you attached it, you could swing in and use two hands if you attach it to your body. Most of the rest of you, though, the attachment to like your belt is more of an emergency if the gun drops. Your belt would be taking your full weight, so you would really need to be certain that your belt is in really good shape, or whatever piece you're using to. However, as a Urig, a Warforged of Cyorion, you find a mount point on your body that allows you to attach it directly to you.
Nice.
That's amazing.
After a full day's training, you are exhausted, having practiced all day, becoming proficient in the Gidgee gun, and wake up the next day as the cities are preparing for their trade festival. You wake up and come to the top of the city and look, and you can see the other dome of the other palace of Rezeedah with its deep oranges and splashes of green banners. A very clean looking city, very pristine, shining, and all the people are preparing for trade. And you can see and hear the people moving carts of supplies to the massive lifts on the sides of the city, wheeling people down and lowering them underneath of the two cities. As you might recall, like we said in the beginning, Cyorion is a tidally locked world. The sun sits in one place in the sky all day. So as it sits up there, the underside of these two cities is a wonderfully shaded spot. And within an hour of the cities being parked, a massive trade fair and bazaar is set up underneath the two cities. And did you prefer to infiltrate Rezeedah during the daylight or under the cover of darkness?
I think we should go in. This. I'll share my opinion, and then you guys can. I think we should just go in and see if we can somehow get an audience with the Magana during the day. What do you guys think?
I agree.
This unit thinks that's a good plan A.
Sounds good.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Unfortunately, and just because I want to make sure that we respect our streamers' times this evening, you spend the afternoon working throughout the city with the guards, trying to get in contact with the royal family of Rezeedah, and you find it incredibly difficult to either get a message through or to set up some sort of meeting. They don't really trust the fact that you're trying to set up a meeting the day of. This is something we would have expected weeks before. It's very much out of the cultural norms for you to be trying to set up an impromptu meeting with a member of the royal family, and you are summarily turned away by the city guards throughout your entire day's work trying to get there. So we come up closer to the evening time as the veil begins to cover the world. A slight bit of twilight begins to cover the desert, and you guys have some obstruction from the prying eyes of others if you were to use your Gidgee guns to get into the city.
I think that's what we're gonna have to do. We tried to be forthright and were rejected.
And I do apologize. I normally would have loved to run that down, but I do want to be respectful of time tonight and try to be careful of that. Okay.
All right. Well, do we want to just go in with that?
Yes.
I suppose so.
You
now
stand
the
at
plan.
the precipice of the edge of the city. Rezeedah slightly in the distance from you, not more than a few hundred feet off, but the streets on top are fairly clear. You can hear the party down below in the trade bazaar as many people are gathering around many campfires to enjoy the evening of trade in the sands. But the streets are quite empty up here. You peek over the edge of the city, and the gravity of what you're about to do sinks in from 350 feet up in the air.
Oh
looking
boy.
at that steep fall before you. You prepare yourselves, take a deep breath, and leap from the edge of Leventos. And you find the training quicks in kicks in very quickly for you as each of you fire off your Gigi guns and you hear the electricity and the magic activate inside of the device. And the expected wet slap sound of that sticky pad hitting the side of the city, you hold your breath for what seems like an eternity as you squeeze the trigger the first time and you're waiting for it to connect and pull you. And you fear that you may have missed and be falling to your doom when incredibly suddenly your arm is ripped as you hear the splat and the charge of electricity on the line, and you find yourself swinging underneath Rezeedah.
Woo! Here we go.
The group of you makes your way quickly underneath the city, and let me get a stealth check from everybody, and let's see how quiet we're being as we swing
sorry, guys.
underneath the city.
Sorry a lot. I have disadvantage on stealth.
This is a group check, so if more than half of you make it, it is a group success. So I got Ann Ekins with a 21, Zero with a 15, Zeeg with a 9, Morwin with a 15, and Drayden with an 8.
Just can't catch a break tonight.
Hey, that's more than half of you at 12 or above.
Okay.
The roar of
We
the
gotcha.
crowds below you. You can hear all the people cheering and enjoying themselves, and it kind of covers up that sound of you all very quietly zzz, zzz, as you zip underneath the city. And eventually, you find your way to what looks like a strange door with an access into the city. And as you get close, this magical rune appears next to the door and projects a series of images floating through the air. And you can see 30 different types of animals floating in runic patterns as they hover in the air in front of you. And there is a door directly in front of you that has no handles or access. What would you guys like to do?
Use Zeeg's fancy knowledge.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Someone got that password.
I punched the code in.
Zeeg reaches out, looks through this grouping of animals and creatures, and reaches out, and as you touch them, you grab them from in front of you in the air and put your hand around them, and you hear a very slight sound. Those of you that have proficiency in survival, you hear almost whispered into your ear the call that each of these creatures will make, or what sound effects that they'll make as they travel around the world. And you touch griffin, turtle, ox, bat, dragon, and each of those runes disappears. And as they do, you hear the doors open and slide open before you, and you can see the interior of the workings of this city. Ropes stretching from end to end underneath the city, thick cords of wood running the entire lengths. As you pull yourself up, you see why they say it's so dangerous. All of the moving pieces as these legs are supported, as different devices are carrying water and energy underneath the city. You find yourself stepping gingerly and having to duck from beams that are swinging above your head on the very, very narrow roped path through the center of the city. So, very quickly, if you can, let me get a marching order from you guys. This is a 2-person wide bridge, so I need who's going to be the first 2 in line?
Great question.
Zero will be one of them.
Zero. And who else?
I'll do it.
Zero and Zeeg at the front. Who is taking up the rear?
I'll take up the rear.
Say Marwin. And one more for the rear. Or just Morwin at the rear by themselves. And then we can put Drayden and Anne in the middle. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Although, actually, that's right, Drayden might be better suited to the back than me, but then again,
That's what I was thinking, but
why don't we flip that?
I'll walk in the back. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She's so
Drayden
strong and
Morwin
powerful.
switch.
Oh, strong.
All right. You make your way down the creaking access bridge, really a catwalk, kind of suspended underneath the interior of the city. And you can hear the sounds and see all of the wood moving around you, supporting these massive pieces of infrastructure, holding up this city hundreds of feet in the air. And you can see literally just how much work goes into this. It is an incredibly large undertaking. And you make your way down this corridor deep into the belly, moving through some rooms of tight quarters until you come to a doorway that has a bit of blue underneath the door, kind of glowing, coming out from that.
Chicks.
What would you guys like to do?
Guys, they're in the front, so.
So Zero and Zeeg, you're up front. What would you like to do?
Zero, do you have any problem? Do you have any problem just opening the door?
That's exactly what this unit was about to suggest.
I'll cover you. And I pull out my hand crossbow.
Okay.
Right. Zero has the his staff that he keeps with him, with the bulbous end pointed forward, ready to throw as he opens the door.
Okay. You open the door, and you open to a rather large room, about 30 by 30. That appears to be a central housing for some of the energy conduits that are coming into and out of this area. And in here is a device, rounded in the center, a small desk near it, and you can see a young woman, red and brunette of hair, deep tanned skin. This is a half human shifter hybrid. So this is someone that has very slight cat-like features, but also has human as part of her history. Leaned over, looking into this device and monitoring something. It doesn't even look up as you enter the room. You guys very quietly open the door and take a look around. This office space and workshop is scattered with benches of tools and various things around the perimeter. What do you like to do?
Zero kind of takes the staff down from his ready position, opens the door, and just kind of walks in.
Zeeg, you're also at the front. What would you like to do?
I will kind of walk in and stand off to one side. And let the rest of the party in before us start anything.
Do we have a description of this Magana person?
You do not.
I think we only knew that she was a young woman.
Does this device seem to be letting off the blue that we've learned?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it was letting off so much of that coloration that it was seeping through the
Seeping
doorway
through
as
the
you
door.
approached it.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that.
Oh, I did just see Rock Punch ATL host us for 16. Thanks, guys. We're wrapping up our campaign, our one shot for the Jewel of Rezeedah. I appreciate you guys jumping in and joining us. But we're at the awesome point as you guys enter the room with all these devices and this woman peering over this kind of crystalline structure, and you can see gears grinding and floating around it, copper tones and brass shining off of the blue light, refracting this light around the room in a very beautiful pattern. And she still has not looked up from her work as you all have started to kind of filter into the room.
I say her name. Or the name of the jewel.
Magana? Okay.
Yes.
You say Magana, and she... Yes? What is it? I'm quite busy. Can't believe you'd be interrupting me in my study of all places.
Apologies, but we were hired to kidnap you. We're not here to do that. But we're just trying... we're
At this
trying
point,
to.
she looks at you as you say that. Continue.
What's the DM? What's the regent's name? The princess's name?
The princess that hired
Sarah?
you was Sarah. Yep.
Yeah. Yes, Pasira tried to tell us that you had been stolen from the other city and asked us to come retrieve you.
This again.
We have a
Oh my-
proposition.
Well, I would love to hear it, because if I
unit-
can't get Persira to stop trying to force me into a marriage that I don't want, this is
What?
exhausting.
We
She
were
was
led
res-
to believe at first that it was, I gestured to the device, that she was interested in.
Well, I'm sure she is. We tried to work out a deal last time and, have her city hire us out to build one for her, but she didn't like the price, and now it appears that she has just decided to kidnap me and force me into a marriage that I turned down 2 years ago.
Who are we supposed to marry? Or
Her.
okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's considering that myself. Interesting. Well,
By the gods.
what if we can help broker a deal, a better deal than this marriage you don't want?
Hear it, please. Go ahead.
Okay.
We were only commissioned to retrieve the device, and Zero points to the what we had thought was the jewel originally.
Well, if she
If we
asked
do
you to
what
retrieve the
this-
jewel of... If she asked you to retrieve the jewel of Rezeedah, she referred to me.
She did not. She specifically described the device.
He did use the word jewel of Rezeedah, though.
And
But-
you kind of see as she gets closer now that the blue coming off of that device is reflected very staunchly in her eyes as she's now coming a little closer and looking at you. Not only is that blue crystalline in there, but you can see flecks of the blue crystal glowing out of this woman's eyes as well. Yes, she describes me much like the device as well. It's I think she's a bit obsessed with me, just a little bit.
Sounds like it. I mean, you are impressive.
Thank you.
Good grief! I hate breakup jobs. They're always so messy. They're always so messy.
It sounds like there was never a commitment to begin with. At least on Miss Magana's part here.
Well,
If we could retrieve
would-
a copy of the device, the cities will separate, and you will be free to go.
I'd be more than happy to help them create one. It's not something that's too difficult, but it does require a bit of time. She just did not accept the terms of the last deal and got a little aggressive about it.
Middleman, are you seriously suggesting we reward these people for trying to kidnap this woman? They
No,
have
sir,
the
just-
right.
They
simply
pay for
trying
it.
to find a better way.
Because Sarah's devices aside, her people will be suffering soon if that city is not corrected. Leventos is an old city and it walks through a very harsh desert. If a device like this is not installed, the city will likely fall and thousands may die. I am more than happy to help for the good of those citizens, but I will not be kidnapped and forced into a marriage.
And that is
Seems
not our goal
reasonable.
here. We just want to help.
How long does it take to craft such a device?
6 months' time. It will be an effort, but I'm more than happy to do it.
What will you take in exchange?
At this point, I'd be willing to do it to get her to stop sending people to kidnap me. Our city has profited greatly from building these devices for others. I would be more than happy to do it free, as a gesture of goodwill between our cities.
Do you need to be on Leventos to craft this device?
It would be best if I was a little close, yes.
Okay. So you'd probably require some protection from her advances while you worked on such a device.
Very much so, yes.
You're smart man, you Anne.
That we can handle.
Yes, I think we are capable of protecting you.
Well, I don't know how good you'll be at protecting her, since a lot of you can't be trusted with a simple job.
Oh, great! Here's
And the
Uzgoth.
group of you listen and turn to see Uzgoth with a few thugs at his side stepping into the room. And just as a clarification for the stream, we are going to be doing side-based initiative for this, so it can go quickly. So if I could please get Zeeg to roll initiative for your guys' team. And we will roll initiative for the other side.
While Zeeg is doing that, Anne would like to say, well, it's interesting that the princess would send a group out to do her dirty work, and then send another group after. Doesn't seem she trusts her employees very much, does she?
Oh, you're not employees. You're hired guns, and she has her reasons. All right, with a 17, your team will be going first. So there are 4 enemy warriors, along with Uzgoth, the half-orc. And your guys' go is first, so we're gonna, like I said, do side-based initiative. You can decide in any order, or you can just have me run down really quickly. What would you all prefer?
Pick, I guess.
Do you
Unless
mind
you
just
guys
running
have a
down?
preference.
I think Zeeg would probably start doing something if we were starting to get attacked. Zeeg is
Zeeg
already
does
very
seem-
distrustful.
Yeah, they are very threatening, and they
He
are
would.
drawing weapons. So
He would.
Zeeg,
He would whistle,
you have
and this black dragon would manifest. Are they within 30 feet?
they are within 30 feet. Yeah.
So he would manifest right behind the half-orc.
Okay. The rest of you watch as Zeeg whistles, and this Eastern Chinese inspired dragon materializes out of the air from behind the half-orc, and you can smell bits of sulfur and earth in the air as this being just pops into the space behind Uzgoth.
Used to sick him. I
The
said,
dragon and snaps out at Uzgoth.
and then I'm gonna take my 2 attacks with advantage, I assume, because I'm not in direct line.
Correct.
What's the command again, DM?
That is exclamation point, attack, I believe. Yeah, action space attack. And then we will put 0 on deck to go next. So just think about what you want to do before we get there, and we'll have you go.
There's
And
attack
hit
1.
Hit number 2 to go ahead and roll the bolt attack. 19 hits for 9 damage. And go ahead and roll the second one, and I will roll out your D4 for you as well. It's an exclamation point roll space 1D4.
4.
All right, with an extra.
Second attack.
Okay. Those of you that are seeing Zeeg now in combat for the first time, the dragon appears and Zeeg pulls out this crossbow and deftly fires 2 shots, and you can hear the cracking of electricity as these bolts pass from the firing mechanism and slam into the creature. 2 19s, very nice. All right, for another 7, 8, 9 points of damage. Okay. And your creature gets to go as well. Did you want to just have it roll an attack?
I wanted to try to restrain the big guy. Bite him in the ankle, try to hold him in place.
Okay. Go ahead and make an athletics check for me. So just roll 1d20, and then I'm going to add the strength modifier for you. Okay, a 9. That's plus 3 for 12. And oof. Uzgoth rolled a 3. So
Oof.
this drake, this Eastern European dragon, or sorry, Eastern Chinese dragon, kind of coils around Uskoth, wraps up in Uskoth's body, and you can see the dragon snapping in his face as he constricts and tightens on the half-orc. Zero. Oh, is that everything for Zeeg, I believe? Zero, you're up, and then we'll have Anne on deck. Okay, Zero, you're up. Anne is on deck.
How close are they?
They're about 20 feet behind you. They're just out on that catwalk starting to come in.
Okay, so Zero is going to run up. It's going to be like he was in one place, you blink, and then he's in another. And then he is going to attack one of the other henchmen that was with the half-orc and try to use the Bounty Hunter's Enforcer to ensnare them.
Okay, go ahead and make an attack roll for me. $25 is absolutely a hit. All right, roll a damage check.
Wow.
And then with that one, as a bonus action, you primed it for impact.
Yep.
Okay,
I think that's the one for two-handed.
there you go. 7 points of damage, and the rest of you watch as the net that Zero had previously used to restrain that merchant snaps out of the ball and just whips around. You hear as the ropes clasp around the other side of this human and wrap him up inside of the net. He's in there struggling, fighting to get up off the wood, and you hear a nice loud thump as he hits the ground. Anything else you would like to do, Zero? I think you get an extra attack, and you can follow up with just an unarmed strike with one hand if you'd like.
Yeah, I'm going to go to a one of the other henchmen, and all my strikes are going to be non-killing strikes. I don't want to actually do a killing strike. I want to do an unarmed strike.
Okay. Go ahead and roll an attack for the unarmed strike.
Ooh.
An 8. And I don't think we have any rerolls on deck. We do not. No rerolls on deck right now. Again, stream, if you wanted to help out, any donation of $10 is going to equal 1 reroll for our players. So an 8 is a miss as you lash out and try to hit the other one. Anything else for Zero?
He's going to spend a key point. He's going to do flurry of blows.
Go right ahead.
Same target.
Okay.
Oh, of course. Nat 1.
Nat 1. Unfortunately, an automatic miss. We're not doing anything too special with Nat 1s today. We'll have fun stuff with natural 20s, but with the 1, you just missed. The flurry of blows goes wide as this one seems to be a little bit more deft. This shifter that's been hired out as a thug is a little quick on the draw and manages to dodge your attacks. Okay. Anne, you are up.
For this turn.
Drayden, you'll be on deck.
Okay, so Anne is going to cast Fairy Fire.
Okay.
And
The group of them are close enough together to contain all of them.
Perfect. So I will need a dex save from them, and my save DC is 14.
All right, we have 2 that are restrained and grappled and fail automatically for dex save.
Does or does Zero
and
need to
you-
do that too, considering he's in with them?
Yep, it should target all creatures, so Zero will need to make the check
Yes.
as well. And Zeeg, if you could roll 1d20 as well, we'll check for your Drake, or your Dragon. And then for the other 2, your save DC was what?
I think she said 14.
14.
14. Okay, 1 failure and 1 success. So of that, one of them is not fairy fired. And then, unfortunately, the dragon is fairy fired as well. And that should grant advantage on attacks against it. But it's got someone tied up right now, and Uskoth is not too happy.
And if only I'd done my bonus action first, I could have maybe helped that. I am going to Bardic Inspiration 0. I think he needs some inspiration right now, so I'm like, hang in there, you've got this.
Okay. Anything else for you?
That is it.
Drayden, you are up with Morwen on deck.
Okay. Drayden readies her shield and her battle axe And I'm just gonna go right in. I'm gonna do an attack with my battle axe.
Okay.
And
Do you
I'm
want to hit
also
the one that you have advantage with, or the one that is that dodge the fairy fire? You can see glowing on one of them, which would give you advantage.
yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Let's see, what was it? Oh no. 6.
Oh, that's your damage. Make sure you hit the roll to attack. There should be an attack roll that's got a plus to hit. It should be just to the left on the screen there if you're using the D&D Beyond sheet.
I am this. Oh, is it this one? It might be that one. See if that was right.
Just waiting for it to come through the system here.
Was that it?
That's your roll to hit. Okay, so a 9 to hit. Go ahead and roll it one more time because you do have advantage. And we're going to take that 6 damage roll that you already did, so you won't have to re-roll the damage.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I also would
Roll
like
to
to
hit
take a
one more-
bonus action.
Sure. Roll to
Okay.
hit one more time for me, though, because you have advantage. 17
I
is a
did.
hit, though.
Did it
Perfect.
come
It just
through?
came through. Yep.
Okay.
Reaction when she hits.
What's that?
I have a reaction when she hits.
Okay.
Eustace looks at the enemy she's targeting, and he'll take 1d6 ice damage extra because of infused strike.
Okay, go ahead and roll the d6 to help that out then, and we'll add 6 damage from your
You want
hits.
me to roll or somebody else?
You can go ahead and roll it. And then what are you going to do for your bonus action, Danny?
I have spiritual weapon.
Okay.
My favorite
what
spell.
What is that weapon? What type of weapon pops up to help you out with bopping
It's
these
going
dudes?
to be a giant hammer. Let's go with the giant hammer. Why not?
Okay.
I'm a dwarf.
A giant hammer pops up, and are you
Ooh.
hitting the one that you have advantage on to strike with fairy fire, or are you going to hit one of the other ones?
Let's hit one of the were there 4 total and 2
Yep.
are down? So
Yep,
there
2
should
are
be
grabbed.
one other one, right?
Yep.
Okay, I want to hit the other one. The one who isn't down or in the fairy fire.
Okay. So the one who wasn't down or in the fairy fire, your giant hammer appears behind him and swings with a boom through the air and whiffs right over his head. All right. Anything else for Drayden?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let me go ahead and get Morwin up then. Morwin is our last one in.
All right. So, quick refresh on who's where, connected to who.
Yep, we have Zero currently has one of the goons wrapped up in a net. We have Eustace the dragon has Uskoth the half-orc wrapped up in a constricting constraint. And then we have Drayden currently engaged in melee with one of the other goons and a giant hammer behind the other one.
All right. I am going to look at the one that is in melee with Drayden and say, "Your mindless, foolish loyalty proves your brains are full of mush." Vicious mockery
Okay,
on that one.
beautiful.
Does he get bonus for style? Because he should.
You can have advantage for that style. That was gorgeous. We're
It's
gonna go ahead-
actually a
So-
DC. Let me switch
Yep, so-
channels. Here.
What we're gonna
They
do
can have
then is a
disadvantage?
disadvantage. Yep.
Disadvantage on
What's your
Yeah,
DC? And they're gonna roll
their
with disadvantage.
let me go back to right here where I
Oh. Well, I can tell you they definitely failed by rolling a 2 on their wisdom saving throw. So give me that D4 of damage and they'll have disadvantage.
all right 1d4. So
3 points is just enough Drayden had got up there and smacked this one, and with that last hit, here's the string of insults and starts kind of weeping to themselves, and you see this purplish psychic energy in Drayden appear in front of you as grabs his head and kind of screams and falls unconscious. Not dead, but unconscious.
Unconscious is good enough.
Everybody is attempting to roll. Is anyone attempting to roll lethal damage? I know most of you have stated you are
You
non-lethal.
don't get an option
attackers.
for that with spells, though, and ranged attacks.
But we are giving it for you guys for the style of how you've been playing, of being non-lethal.
Okay.
Assuming blunt
Zeke
arrows and
is
strength.
absolutely trying to be lethal.
Zeke is
Zeke is
lethal.
mad.
Zeke is angry.
Ziga's special.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And he's
Anything
got
else
his
for
own
Morwen?
things.
Anything else for Morwen?
Let's see. I'm trying to think if that's what kind of action that is. Actually,
Vicious Mockery is an action cantrip.
it is an action, so that would be me then.
Okay. So you get to see the full power of Magana as clockwork begins to appear behind her as she steps forward. This ethereal kind of bronzed and blue clockwork starts ticking and the entire room fills with sound. As she steps forward and walks up to Uskoth and gets within a few feet of him just to look him in the eyes. And she says, "Run back home to your master." And just points a finger, and Uskoth, she casts Polymorph on Uskoth with a wisdom save of a 9. And Uskoth shifts out of Eustace's grasp into a small sheep. So the shape shifts down a little bit, and then Eustace continues to tighten and holds onto the sheep. Now it's bleeding, terrified. And since we are really close to time here, the rest of the bandits kind of get one look at this awesome display of power, as in one round, you down one of them, completely wrap up their leader and the other one, and the last two just kind of look at each other and sprint down the hall on their turn and run from the entire group. And the one inside the net goes, please, no more, I submit. And then Uskoth goes, "Meh."
Inspired use of spellcasting.
I grow wary of their advances. But, yeah.
I don't blame you.
This unit, though, thinks we have proven our intentions.
I believe
Yes.
you have. And with that, in the end of this miniature combat of Uskoth and Passera coming after you for not holding up your end of the original bargain, our adventurers go on to work with Magana and the city of Rezeedah to install some help in Leventos, and also not just the mechanical devices, but possibly some envoys into the actual palace itself to help Passera learn to rule. As you come to find out that about 12 years ago, her family did pass away, and she was left to rule in their stead as the sole proprietor of the city, and may have been under a little bit of stress. So Rezeedah and Leventos begin to work well together and help repair Leventos and build it into a much better city. Someplace that is safe and where other princesses are not afraid of being kidnapped and forced into marriages.
Yeah.
Wholesome ending.
Zeke, you had one more thing you wanted to add there?
No, I'm sorry. I was talking to my assistant. It's been
Not a
great
problem.
playing with y'all.
I know we are
Definitely.
a little bit over time. I really appreciate our folks from Everyone Games hanging out and ensuring that we got to continue through this last little bit of combat. We went a little bit over time, so I appreciate y'all sticking around.
I think a lot of
there
us
is
did.
There is a giveaway
Yes.
in chat. If we can roll that off and get me 2 winners to get in contact with to get a copy of the Fate accessibility system, something that can really help you as a player or a DM. Share it with your DM if you win. Use it as a DM if you win. This is a great way to learn how to get better in touch with players with disabilities and make sure that they're able to play in your games and be represented fairly and appropriately inside your games. But very quickly, I want to wrap up with everyone again. I appreciate you all coming here and bringing your wonderful attentiveness and your gameplay to the table. Danny, you were fantastic on your first game. I know it was something you were nervous about, but you did a wonderful job. So I'm going to run quickly down the list here and let everybody plug themselves and where they're from and where you can find them online. And we'll start just from the top of my list with Danny.
I'm Danny Marie AUC, and you can find me under that name on all my social medias, including here on Twitch. I do stream games. I already streamed for this week, and I streamed this morning, but if you guys want to go watch the VOD, you are welcome to. I'm also pretty active on Twitter and here in Discord, as well as I run a website called albinismupclose.com, where I write about albinism and being legally blind. So, yeah.
Thank you. Not a Dr. Quinn.
I'm Quinn. You can find me at Not a Dr. Quinn all over social media. I'm the co-host, producer, and editor of A Couple of Characters podcast, which I make with my husband Alex. And he'll be playing the D&D Epic History game tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., so check that out. And you can find A Couple of Characters at acoupleofcharacterspodcast.com.
Hey, Rodney.
I am Rodney Nissen. I am an IT consultant and blogger specializing in Atlassian System. You can find me at the Jira Guy just about anywhere or thejiraguy.com.
Thank you. And Tarren.
Hello, I'm Tarren. I don't have a steady streaming home yet, although I'm hoping to reinitiate a project of doing some classic stories in a podcast form with character voices and hopefully all kinds of cool things. That is at Tarren's Story Corner on YouTube. Started with Alice in Wonderland, and that is still up there. But I'm also going to be looking at doing it a different way. I don't have any, like I said, I don't have any gaming streaming yet, although hopefully sometime I would love to change that. But I'm Landris Gembar on Twitter. I will put that also in the chat because it's a funky piece of text. There you go.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least is Josh, who played Zeke tonight.
I'm Josh Straub. I'm the editor-in-chief of DAGERSystem. We're a site where you can find all your accessibility needs for reviews of physical accessibility in video games. We also just launched today our accessible games database, where you can search games based on the accessibility features you need. And yeah, I'm Josh P. Straub on Twitter, and the company is DAGERSystem on Twitter. So, we'd love to see you come by sometime.
Fantastic. And really quickly, our winners of the Fate Accessibility System from the stream is Tiny Valkyrie and A Couple of Characters podcast. Congratulations. So,
Awesome.
I have been Ben, BM the DM on Twitter. You can find me there talking about all things Cyorion. Links to my homebrew on World Anvil are there. You can go see maps if you can check those out. There's plenty of story on there. Talks about all the different campaigns we're running in there. If you would like to see me DMing again in the future, please check out spellcastadventures.com. We stream every Monday on Twitch and YouTube, I believe. Might be coming back to Twitch here soon, but check out spellcastadventures.com. That's where you can see me DMing our stream game every Monday night in Cyorion. And this has been Everyone Games. Please check the schedule, everyone-games.com. Please double check that. There's a full lineup tomorrow of amazing things to help able gamers and special effect.
I will be back.
Yep. Tarren will be back
at 11, I believe it is, with League of Eternal Guardians. So
awesome.
Woo.
This has been a wonderful time. We really loved being here. Any closing thoughts from our stream hosts, our wonderful hosts that have been helping us out today?
Actually, there is. I wanted y'all to stand here because on behalf of Knights of the Braille as well as Everyone Games, I have, hopefully Phil is in here with me, and there he is now. Late to the party as always. But want to, on behalf of us, thank y'all for helping support us. Thank y'all for playing. Thank y'all for thinking enough of us to show up and do the game for us. For giving something away and for having fun and showcasing the hobby and getting the word about disability out there. Phil has the amount that we have raised so far, I believe.
Yep. Let me just hit refresh just to be sure we're up to date, right? Because this has been, wow, what a day. We got a total amount raised of $2,941.71. That's for special effect and for able gamers. And I was
Awesome.
Nice.
Partially a little bit in the lead up to the event, but this is pretty much today. And wow, that's a pretty crazy number. I think we should all be very, very proud of what we've accomplished so far and what we're all striving to accomplish in the future with the spirit of this event. Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, really quick before we leave. My screen reader says Teixeira is how you say the name. Is the one that's been doing the camera work for us behind the scenes, correct?
Well, to be fair, I would say that each person is doing their own camera work in a literal sense.
I'm talking about that's been sending it to the Everyone Games.
Yes, but our wonderful stream tech lead, who is just
who's not going to come on and talk and
likes to be behind the scenes. That deserves also all the praise in the world for keeping up with all the craziness for all these hours, and for hopefully getting a good night's sleep for tomorrow. That's what we can start by wishing. We can start by wishing him a wonderful night's sleep.
Yes, so thank you for all that you've done, and as for me, good night, everybody.
Night. Bye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Definitely.